Yes, case number 364 on the calendar in the matter of Bruce versus West. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
All right, the facts in this case are relatively simple. What is your first name?
My name is Kira Bruce.
Kira, you are 17 years old.
Yes.
Decided you wanted a tattoo.
Correct.
You went to the defendant's tattoo parlor.
Sure. That's acceptable.
And presented him with a fake ID and got your tattoo.
Yes.
Then you came home and your mother had a Shrek. You know what a Shrek is? She had a fit.
Good. I thought that was a movie.
Well, somebody took the word and made a movie out of it. But she had a fit. And you and your mother are suing the defendant because your mother believes that he should pay for at least half of the cost of removing the tattoo. Is that what this case is about?
That's exactly what it's about.
Easy. I have a few questions. When did you get the tattoo, Kira?
The beginning of October.
Had you ever had a tattoo before?
I had started one a few days before I got the one at Body Bazaar, yes.
You mean you started one but didn't finish it?
Correct.
At a different tattoo parlor?
Correct.
Why didn't you finish it?
I was nervous and I just kind of got up and paid him and left.
Okay. So the beginning of October you got this tattoo. What does it say? What is it?
It's my last name. It's
Bruce?
Yes. And then
You don't have a boyfriend named Bruce.
No.
Yeah, she told us.
We don't shout out in court. Now, when you went in, did you go in alone? Were you with someone else?
I was alone.
And you saw the defendant?
Oh, I never met Dave West until it all came back with my parents.
Okay. You saw somebody else who worked in the shop?
Yes.
Is that person in court today?
Yes.
Which one? Raise your hand.
Both of them?
You. Were you the one who did the work?
Yep, did the verse tattoo on her, yes.
Okay, could you step up, please? Tell me your name.
Kevin Augustine. How you doing?
Don't ask me questions. I
Kevin
ask questions.
Augustine.
Augustine.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Augustine, when Kira came into the shop, did you ask her for identification?
Yeah, that's normal procedure.
What did you say to her?
They give us California driver's license and they fill out a consent form.
Do you have her form?
Yeah, we do.
May I have it, please?
There's two separate ones for the two different dates that she came in.
She came in on 2 dates.
Two different occasions.
So you didn't finish on the first date and she came back?
No, she started the tattoo at a tattoo studio a few doors down. Then she came to us and got the tattoo she had started at the other studio. She
Finished.
got colored in. Then about a
came back
month,
for
maybe
the
about a
second
month
one.
later, she came back in, brought the same ID, presented her ID, and got a whole nother separate tattoo.
Okay. Do you have the driver's license that you presented to the defendants when you
It
got
was
this
not a
tattoo?
driver's license, it was a California ID.
California ID.
Yes, we do have that, and if you'll note, the person going in actually fills out the information. On the first copy of October 1st, her date of birth is listed as 8/19/01. On the consent form dated October 3rd, it's 9/18/83.
Oh, okay.
So,
Not very hard. Now, she came home to see you, and she showed you the tattoo?
no, she didn't actually. I had been in Southern California for 9 weeks caring for my father, who just recently passed away.
Who was staying with her?
Her father and her brother. But when I returned home, my house was a shambles, teenagers and a dad that eats pizza. So I happened to stroll through her room and I looked down on the floor and I saw a letter. It was folded and I picked it up and it said, "I love my tattoo," a little heart. So I thought I better read the rest of this letter. And I said, "Dear James, sorry. I hope you're not mad at me for getting another tattoo." And then I ricocheted off of the walls. And so when I picked her up from dance that evening, I confronted her about it, and she showed me these tattoos. Then after that, we went to visit the tattoo parlors.
Miss Bruce, I'm going to stop you there. When are you going to be 18, Kara?
September 3rd.
Not so far away. Do you still like your tattoos?
Yes, I do.
Now, your mother wants you to have them removed. Is that a painful procedure?
Yes.
Look, she got these false IDs. I'm not going to even ask her where she got these IDs from. She presented them. She doesn't look as if she's 12 years old. She certainly looks as if she could be over the age of 18. And as long as she acknowledges, and I have certainly here in writing, she signed, giving her consent, indicating, swearing to the fact that she was over the age of 18. Sometimes people, when they write their date of birth, transpose the current year, 01, for their actual date of birth. The answer is yes. So they did what they were supposed to do. The only one who didn't do what they were supposed to do was your daughter.
Okay.
Your daughter. And your daughter is 17. In less than a year, she's going to be 18. She's going to be of the age of majority. Why wouldn't you, instead of bringing this lawsuit against the defendants, say to your daughter, you have to accept responsibility for what you did. You either got or passed off a fake ID. You knew that you weren't supposed to do this. This is something that in our house, in any event, we would oppose, and you did it anyway. And you did it in a sneaky fashion. Now you've got these tattoos. If you want to have them removed, get a job, pay for them to have them removed when you're 18. We're not talking about a 6-year-old child. We're talking about someone who is 7 or 8 months away from being a legal adult. Why do you think that these people are responsible?
It was my understanding that she did not show an ID to Kevin, that the only person who saw her ID at any time in this tattoo parlor was an apprentice by the name of Andrew or Dave.
Doesn't make any difference, Mrs. Bruce. Someone at the tattoo parlor said to her, can I see your ID? She said, yes, here's my ID. Then they had her fill out a form. Now, the person who actually did the tattoo didn't have to recheck, just as if you go into a hospital and you're having surgery, you go into an admitting office. In the admitting office, you fill out all kinds of forms, including consent forms. When you're laying on the operating table, the surgeon doesn't say to you, by the way, I'd like to see your identification and fill out some forms again. They're done before, so that when you go in for the procedure, it's all finished. All that paperwork is all finished. Your daughter did the wrong thing. Do I look like I need help from you?
No.
Then why are you raising your hand?
I just wanted to add something to it. I tattooed on her also. If you look at the...
Just a minute.
Okay.
I didn't say yes.
Okay. I apologize.
Do you understand? What I'm saying to you, wait 10 months, and if she wants to have the tattoo removed, she'll have it removed. Don't be mad at them. You gotta be mad at her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Irene Bruce says Dave West owes for removing a tattoo from her 17-year-old daughter, Kira. Dave says Kira used a fake ID.
Okay. You got to put the blame where it belongs. The blame belongs with your daughter. If she had gone into that tattoo parlor and nobody said to her, let me see your ID, I say, you got a case. But they asked for her ID. She had a fake ID.
That looks nothing like her, I'm sorry.
I want to tell you something. I like to look at my driver's license and say it looks nothing like me, too. I look at my passport and I say, who is this person?
Right.
All right? So.
But she is neither 5'3" or 100 pounds. And if
I lie on my passport, I lied on my driver's license. I've been 100 pounds now since I was 8 years old. It doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
It's her responsibility. You can't transfer that to them.
Okay.
But if she wants to take it off, let her get a job.
Okay,
Let her pay for it.
She does. Okay. The other thing, when I visited the tattoo parlor, I spoke with Kevin. We called Dave, who said if he was going to have to pay to have this tattoo removed, that he wanted the sheriff called and my daughter arrested. I did call the sheriff from the studio. There were 3 officers that were present. They did state that it was a civil matter and that we needed to resolve it between us.
Because you wanted your daughter arrested.
Don't speak to her. Look at me.
So I can't abide lies when presented in front of me, ma'am.
Don't
Thank
speak.
you.
I can't abide speaking out. Go ahead.
I did tell the officer that if they needed to arrest her, she needed to be responsible for her actions, and whatever their decision was, she would have to live with it. But they advised us to work it out in an amicable way. So Dave West did sign an agreement to pay half of the cost of the removal of the tattoos that were put on her body by Body
Let me see it.
Bazaar. He also requested that I obtain an estimate for the cost of the removal of the tattoos.
Just a minute.
Which I did.
You signed this on October 27th that you would help pay half the cost of removal of her tattoos? Sir, this is your
Yes,
handwriting?
basically I signed. I was forced into signing it. There was 3 cop cars in my driveway blocking my driveway to my business. She said basically that she wasn't going to leave until I signed a piece of paper saying that I would help her pay for it. I got people trying to pull in my driveway. They can't come in. I'm losing business.
Listen to me, sir. All you do is go outside and say to the police, I have asked this woman to leave my shop. She refuses to leave my shop. She is now trespassing. Have her removed.
I wasn't aware of that. I did.
Well,
I was under a lot of stress. I had 3 cops at my business.
You may have been a lot of other stress,
I had
but
an
you
angry
signed
mother
this.
forcing me. I was
you
being
signed
under
this piece of paper.
I sure did, under duress. I was basically forced into it. I was under a lot of stress. I had cops at my business.
Mr. West, ignorance of the law is no excuse. I would dismiss the case. I'm telling you right now, this case would be over. I don't believe it's your responsibility. But you agreed to, not pay half. It says, I, Dave West, will help pay half of the cost of removal of the tattoos. He doesn't say he's going to pay half. He says he'll help pay half. Mm-hmm. Now, that may be semantics, but since I feel as if it's so unjust for him to pay everything, or even half, I'm going to interpret what he says based upon the exact letter of this note, which says, I will help pay half. And the total amount is a couple of $1,000. Half of that would be $1,000. So he's going to help pay half of the $1,000. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Your responsibility. Deal with it.
I still feel that he's responsible for accepting an identification that did not look anything like her.
She basically committed a crime. We were victims of it.
I wanted the tattoos.
We were a professional operation.
The tattoo should be removed.
Yeah, it's case number 352 on the calendar in the matter of Gray versus Lewis. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
All right, this is like a little soap opera here. I really think I'm going to start with you, Miss Lewis, and get some background information. The lawsuit involves your claim, Miss Gray, that the defendant, who is your husband's niece, had you falsely arrested for stalking. You want to be compensated for that false arrest and for all the money that you spent, lawyers' fees, time, and emotional distress. From what I gather, and I'm trying to piece together the information that you put in your complaint, you saw the plaintiff getting into another man's car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you see this?
In a county near my grandmother's house at a gas station.
Tell me what you either saw or thought you saw.
Okay, we were the last ones at the gas station, and it's like a rural gas station in a little county, and we were pumping gas. The lights were out because we were the last ones there. They were closing up. We saw the defendant coming.
No, plaintiff. She's the plaintiff today.
I'm sorry. The plaintiff riding in her car, and she didn't see us at first. We were just standing there pumping gas, and when she saw us, she like backed out, and when she was about to leave the parking lot, a car rolled up with a male in it, and they exchanged a few words, and they left together following each other. So we were en route to our house.
Who were you traveling with?
My mother, my sister, and my little brother. And we saw her pass in the other direction. She was in the passenger side of the guy's car. So my mom got upset, and she turned the car around and went back to my grandmother's house where my uncle was.
Your uncle, who was her husband?
Yes, ma'am. And my mom...
Were they living together at the time? Everything was happy?
No.
So they were separated?
No, not legally. She comes and goes when she wants to.
But they were not living together full-time as man and wife?
No.
Okay. So you and your mom go back to your grandmother's house where your uncle is.
Yes.
Her husband.
Yes.
Estranged husband. And you tell him what you saw.
Well, my mother got out the car and told what she saw.
And then what happened?
He came out because he had the baby because she said she was too ill to watch the baby and take care of the baby. And he left the baby with my grandmother, got in his car, and sped down the road.
And then what happened?
And he called us later that night and told us what had happened when he saw her getting out of the guy's car. And
what happened when he saw you?
First, he accused me of cheating. He shoved me going towards the friend that I was with. Then he approached him and started calling me all sorts of names, and he was about to fight him, so I had to stand in front of him so he wouldn't hit my friend.
When were you arrested?
They sent me in a mail a paper saying if I do not turn myself in, that they will arrest me, come and arrest me at my home.
What do you claim she did to you that caused you to file the police report?
Okay, after she had a confrontation with my uncle called me and told me what happened. The next morning, Miss Gray called me at my home. I didn't tell my uncle anything my mom told her. I didn't even speak to my uncle when he called that night. So she called me the next day. We had been friends. I was the only one in my family willing to accept her and her child into my family. Everyone else didn't want to accept her. So I wasn't mad that she was cheating on my uncle because I really don't get in their business. She called me, she threatened me, she said that she was going to kill me, my daughter, and the rest of my family because we're a bunch of bees and everything. And I was like, Joy, you're crazy. Stop calling my house. I hung up with her. She called back and proceeded to curse me out. And I'm like, you know what? You're making threats, and I'm tired of you making threats. So I was like, you better be careful what you say. And she was like, I'm going to kill you, and she hung up the phone. I called my uncle right then immediately because she has a medical condition that affects her hormones, and they said that it affects her mind sometimes when she doesn't take her medicine. So I called my uncle to make him aware of what his wife was doing, and he said, don't worry about her. I'll take care of her because she needs her medicine. And I'm like, okay. I didn't pay her any mind. So the next morning, after she made the phone call, I come out my door into my parking lot, and I put my daughter in my car. She's across the parking lot in her car, waiting in her car, looking at me. And I knew it was her because she has personalized license plates. So I just got in my car, and I proceeded out my parking lot. She followed me 10 miles up the road to my mom's house, and she proceeded down the road as I turned into my mom's driveway. And I went in the house and told my mom about the situation, and she said, don't worry about it, just go to work. Later that night, I hear a loud bang on my door. I live by myself with my daughter. And I get up, my daughter's crying because she woke up because of the noise. And I get up, look out my window, and I don't see anything. I open my door, and then I see her across the parking lot with her lights on, and then she speeds out the parking lot. So that night, in fear of not knowing what she's going to do because she has to take medicine because she has a chemical imbalance with her hormones and everything. And so I left and went down to the magistrate office and filed a police report. And I said, and when I originally went there, I just wanted a protective order. I didn't want her anywhere around me. He said, in order to get a protective order, I must file charges. So he filed charges for stalking.
Do you have the police report?
No, I don't have the police report, but I have when we went to court and what happened at court and everything.
Okay. Well, just hold on to that for a second. So you were notified in the mail that you had to turn yourself in?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you given a trial date?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the trial date? You were arraigned first?
Yes, ma'am, on the 25th.
Okay,
And
but you were allowed to go home?
yes, ma'am.
So on the 25th of April, you were arraigned. Did you make another appearance in court after
Yes,
the
ma'am.
25th? When?
It was later on that May 26th, I believe.
Was that your last court appearance?
Yes, ma'am.
So on May 26th, the case was resolved.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a lawyer?
Yeah, a court-appointed lawyer.
They're still lawyers?
Yes, ma'am.
So you had a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And you discussed the case with the lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what happened in court, Miss Gray?
Yes, ma'am. He came up and
Who's he?
My lawyer and the district attorney, they went up and they said that both parties have agreed not to come in contact with one another. And then I didn't have to come to any court dates. I called and they said the case was dismissed. Well, it will be dismissed on June 3rd.
So the case is not dismissed yet?
That's
as
right.
long as we stay away from each other.
No,
Yes, ma'am.
that's not what it says.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly Grace says her niece, Vivica Lewis, had her falsely arrested for stalking. Vivica says after she caught her aunt cheating with another man, Kimberly threatened to kill her.
Can I see the piece of
Here you
paper
go.
that you have, please?
Your Honor, I would like to point out
Certified by
that
the court.
I made a complaint against them on the 24th of March, and how convenient her stalking was to mine, because they did follow me to my home, because I got my friend to take me home. They drove up behind me, and they pulled in the driveway. But as we were traveling to my home, they were honking the horn, flashing their lights, and they were on our bumper. So when I got to my home, they came up and pulled behind me. They pulled out, and they was at my driveway, and she yelled out she was gonna beat my A, and that I got you now, B. And then she was saying something else to my friend, and I walked in my house to get my dad. And by the time I got him out the house, they were gone. And my police report was filed on the 24th, and I called the police at 9:33 in the morning. So it was no way in the world that I could
is
call
not
her.
true.
I
That
have
is
the
not
police
true.
Ms.
report.
Gray, I want you to pay careful attention to
Yes, ma'am.
On the 26th of May, according to these papers, you entered a plea of nolo contendere, which means you pled no contest to the charges.
Ma'am.
And you were ordered by the court to pay costs
Yes, ma'am.
as a result of your plea of no contest, and the protective order that was issued in favor of the defendant. And I am certain that your lawyer explained to you that a plea of nolo contendere, no contest, is the same as a plea of guilty.
Ma'am.
Did your lawyer explain that
No,
to you?
ma'am, we
Well,
never
he should have.
discussed.
He or
We
she
never discussed pleading guilty or not guilty. Because I told him at the trial, I was like, I'm not pleading guilty, for something that I didn't do. He said, ma'am, you're not pleading guilty because you're coming into agreement that you're not going to mess with the defendant anymore. I was like, sir, I did not do this. And they should have it on court record that I said it to him because I said it out loud in court.
All I can tell you is what I read in the certificate of disposition of the case. And your case is what we call adjourned in contemplation of dismissal, which means it's not dismissed yet. But if you, as I said, stay away from her, then the case will be dismissed and the order of protection lifted. So you have no civil claim against her, Ms. Gray.
Ma'am,
You have no civil
I'm sorry, I didn't
case
know.
against her
I did not know.
as long as you pled what is equivalent to a guilty plea, which is a plea of no contest.
Okay.
You should have gone to trial, maybe, and pled not guilty and continued to go to trial. Maybe your case would have been dismissed. If it was dismissed, then you might have a civil suit against her, but you didn't. You pled no contest. Is this your husband?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is a friend that I was with on the time that she said that I was stalking her, and and he was there.
Are you separated from your husband now?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's your child?
He's with me. I got full custody of my son.
That's not true either.
Yes, ma'am.
They haven't even filed for separation papers. He kicked her out because she doesn't want to clean, cook, or nothing. And she took the baby with her.
That's not usually a reason.
No, because
I'd be out on the street.
She takes all the money out the bank. He had a down payment, and that's why they just back and forth.
Where's the child?
With me.
With her, living with her, but they haven't been to court for custody or anything.
Okay. Does your husband see the child?
No, ma'am. He comes like once in a blue moon, so he does not come see him. He does not pay anything for him.
That's a lie. He has an order to pay her $200 a month for the child.
I didn't even get this. I'm sorry. This is
what you are. That's what you have said. She's had contact with me. I'm just going off what she said to me.
Then they have to have been to court.
I don't
Listen
know
to me.
Or not.
Well, I'm telling you, if he has a child support order of $200 a month, which is what you're telling me, then they have to have been to court, and your brother has an order to pay support, and I assume visitation, which he certainly should avail himself of.
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Good. Stay away from her.
I haven't been near her.
Perfect.
Thanks.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It went fairly, and she's crazy. She needs some treatment.
I don't understand how would she lie and say all these things and they weren't true.
We don't really want to have anything to do. She's trying to force herself upon us.
I have had problems with them ever since I got with my husband.
We don't want to have anything to do with her because she lies so bad.
She had no right to follow me. I wasn't with my husband. He had a girlfriend.
She's a liar. I just hate the fact that she lies.
Don't get mixed up with crazy family.
And now the next case.
All parties on Evans versus Tracy. Step forward, please.
26-year-old handyman Tony Evans is suing his former friend, 31-year-old landscaper Audra Tracy, for the value of a stolen money order.
Mr. Evans, according to your complaint, the defendant was a friend of yours, and there had been times, because she didn't have a checking account, that you cashed checks for her.
Yes, ma'am.
On this particular instance, she came to you and told you she had a money order and asked you to cash it for her. You did.
Yes.
And several days later, you were notified by your bank that the money had been withdrawn from your account because the money order had either been stolen, reported stolen, or a stop order had been put on the money order. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you want the money back?
Yes, I do.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding her request.
She called me up on my cell phone and said that the father of her children had come into town out of the blue. He hadn't been paying child support ever, and he gave her a money order for $1,000 and wanted to know if I had cash. I've cashed plenty of checks for her, and I didn't think nothing of it. And when I showed up, she said, well, it's for $1,000, but it's a money order. It's guaranteed funds. You got nothing to worry about. Because up till then, I didn't cash nothing for that amount of money. So I thought about it and said, hey, you know, it's a money order, guaranteed funds. It's not like it's a checking account. So I cashed the money order for her.
How did you do that?
We went to the bank. She signed the money order that was written to her. She endorsed it. I signed it and cashed it and handed her the money. And in the bank was the last time I ever saw my $1,000.
Did she ever tell you about this father of her children before you cashed the money order?
I don't know anything about him.
Just that you knew she had children?
She had children, so obviously they probably have a father, yes.
Okay. All right, Miss Tracy, let me hear from you.
Pretty much everything that he said, it happened. To me, the money order was a legit check. That's the only reason why I asked Tony to do it, because like he said, he has cashed checks for me prior, because I don't have a bank account. When we cashed this check, I went back and gave the money to Dolan. After that, Tony got a hold of us a couple of days after that saying the bank, you know, he was out of $1,000, we need to get down to it. So we addressed Dolan, both me and him both did at that time, and Dolan got on the phone and was trying to call somebody in Missouri, a friend of his that supposedly put the stop payment on it. To me, I was an innocent bystander, and I understand Tony wants to get his money back, and I try to get him and Dolan to deal with it themselves and keep me out of it, because it basically, he wrote the check out to me, and I don't feel like I'm totally blamed for the $1,000.
Even though she got the $1,000.
Even though I got the $1,000, which I gave to Dolan, and in return he gave me $300 for child support. And I haven't received child support from him in like 12 years.
So you feel as if Dolan is responsible?
Yes,
for
I
the money.
definitely do.
That's your defense?
Yeah.
That you're an innocent bystander?
Yes.
All right. I have some questions for you, Ms.
Okay.
Tracy. Were you ever married to Dolan?
No, I was not.
But you were in, I assume, a long-term relationship with him?
For on and off for 5 years.
And after he cashed this money order, did Dolan stay with you for a while?
Yes, he did stay with me for
How
about a
long?
week. And
Just
then-
a week?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, tell me what you know about Dolan. Does Dolan work?
He's always worked. When I was with him,
Has he ever been incarcerated?
Yes, he has.
How many times?
He's incarcerated right now, and I do believe this is his second time being incarcerated.
What do you mean you do believe? While you were together for that 5 years, had he been in jail before?
No, he was not together in those 5 years, and that's like 12 years ago, so.
Okay, but you believe that he's been incarcerated on at least 2 occasions?
Yes.
Do you know what for?
Drug charges.
Using, selling, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. So
Little.
Manufacturing.
Okay. So
Yeah.
a little bit of, he's a
Everything.
bit of an
He's a pretty
entrepreneur,
bad
he's a
seed.
businessman, he's a salesman, and he also uses his own product.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. That'll work.
Was he ever abusive towards you?
Yes, he was.
Was he ever physically abusive
Yes, he
towards
was.
you? Prior to him cashing this check for you, not a long time ago, just recently, did you know about Dolan's drug involvement?
No, I didn't. I didn't hear or see from him for about 8 years, so showing up on my doorstep, it bewildered me because I haven't seen him in so long.
Oh,
So
but you did know one thing. You knew that he had been working
yes.
and that he hadn't paid child support. Is that right?
Yes.
So you knew he was a deadbeat,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And had he seen his children in those years?
Nope.
So you knew he was irresponsible.
Very much.
So, Miss Tracy, let me ask you this question. If you went to Mr. Evans, who was a friend of yours, and said, look, I have this money order. It was given to me by the father of my children, who is a lowlife, irresponsible, deadbeat, abuser, and we'd like you to cash it for us. Do you think he would have cashed it for you? Probably not. So you had information about the person who you were asking him to vouch for by giving him money that he didn't have. Mr. Evans, if she had said to you, here is a money order by this lowlife, drug abusing, drug selling, drug manufacturing, irresponsible, deadbeat person who I once knew 8 years ago, but I haven't seen since, would you have cashed her money order?
No, I wouldn't.
Of course not. So you go after Dolan.
That was my point.
Absolutely. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The defendant was your former fiancée. She also worked with you in your business. Is that right?
Yes, she did.
And you lived together.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you came home one day and found that she left.
Yes.
She left taking certain of your property. You want back engagement jewelry that you gave to her, and you want her to pay some utility bills and return your property.
Correct, I
That's
do.
what the case is about. Defendant says she worked for you without pay for most of the 2 years that you were together. She doesn't owe you anything. And some of the jewelry she tossed in the river. Is that right?
I still have the jewelry.
All the jewelry?
All the jewelry.
Including the engagement ring?
Including the one engagement ring. The other ring was a Christmas present.
And what did you do with that?
It's at my house. I have both of them.
Where is the engagement ring?
That's at my house also.
Well, why didn't you bring it? That was in dispute.
I didn't want to bring it on the plane, and I didn't want to lose it. I guess I didn't think
That's
that I
fine.
needed to bring that information.
That's fine,
here.
but you know that that has to be returned to him.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I offered to do that. I offered to give everything back.
Now tell me about the engagement ring. Big, small, how much did you pay for it?
The engagement ring that I gave her was $1,000.
Describe it to me.
It's a half-carat diamond ring. I bought it from a guy I know up in.
Okay, is that the engagement ring that you're talking about?
Yes, but he did not pay $1,000.
I don't care. He's not getting money. He's getting the engagement ring back, and you're going to give it back to him.
Yep.
All right, so the engagement ring you get back. Now, let's talk about this engagement jewelry.
Okay, what it actually is, Your Honor, it ain't a engagement in jewelry. What she did is when she moved out of my home, I bought her a necklace. Okay, it was a 28-inch gold Duragold necklace. It was a
gold necklace. You bought her a gold necklace.
I bought her one and I bought myself one. She took both of them. Okay.
She took both.
Both.
No, she can't take yours. Did you take his necklace?
He never.
Yeah, but did you take his necklace?
Yes.
So far, he gets back his necklace. Listen to me very carefully.
Yep.
His necklace and the engagement ring.
Okay.
What else? How easy this is becoming. Easy. What else?
She also, at the time that she moved out, took my kids' bed.
Okay, so we finished with jewelry. Jewelry is disposed of.
Jewelry's done.
All the other jewelry she has were gifts from you, so there's no engagement jewelry. You get back your necklace and the engagement ring. Clear?
Yes.
And she took your kid's bed?
My kids' bed. It was...
Kids' bed.
I got 2 kids, yes, ma'am.
That's kids. That's 2.
Right.
Kids' would be a lot more than 2.
My kids' bed. Thank you very much.
Go ahead. Took your kid's bed. Why'd you take his bed?
It was our bed that we bought together.
Did you sleep on it with him?
Yes.
So it wasn't for kids.
At the time, his kids was sleeping on it. He had another bed at our old house, which was a bunk bed that was for his kids. That bed that he is talking about, I purchased with my friend Renee. She was a witness. He gave me cash to go receive that for us together. We were together for 3 years. Everything was mutual, everything.
What kind of business were you in?
I own my own towing business out of St. Paul, Minnesota. Yes,
and
ma'am.
what kind of work did the defendant do for you in the business?
She was doing anything she wanted to do. I mean, if she did entering stuff into the computer once in a while. She'd answer telephones.
Okay.
You know, it was stuff like that.
You work out of the house?
No, I own my own shop and everything. Yeah.
Did she go with you to the business?
Yeah, she'd be there at the business.
But I don't need any help.
Absolutely.
So she went with you to the business. So sometimes she would
Yes,
enter
she
things
did.
to the computer, sometimes she'd file, sometimes she
Yes,
would
she did.
answer the phone. So she worked. How much did you pay her every week?
It all depends
How
on...
much did you pay her every week?
Right away in the beginning, she didn't get a whole lot. She didn't... When she came to me with 2 bags of clothes, Your Honor.
How much did you pay her?
In the beginning, she probably got about $200 a week.
When you say the beginning, you mean the first 6 months or the first year?
Well, probably the first year she got about that.
Okay, so the first year you paid her $200 a week.
Yes, ma'am.
In cash.
Yep, and she didn't have to pay no bills at the home. She didn't have to pay for a phone bill. She didn't have to pay for a vehicle. She didn't have to pay for nothing, Your Honor. She didn't have one payment.
Okay, so this $200 was just her spending money.
Exactly.
Fine. What else do you say she took of yours?
I got a list about this long,
Well,
but I'm not worried.
I want to tell you something. Cull it down.
Exactly.
Really
looking
like
for,
this, not like this.
What I'm looking for is my kids' bed given back to me, and then I want my bills paid for at the home, okay, Your Honor?
What bills? I thought you told me she didn't pay any bills.
After we moved into our new home in March of this year.
I thought you told me she stayed with you and you took care of all the bills.
Up until January 1st. January 1st of this last year, 2001, I sold my business, okay? January, February, March, April, May, I paid the bills at the home. June, she started paying bills at the home. June, July, August, September, October, November
Why
were
did she
her
start paying bills?
responsibilities. Excuse me?
Why did she start paying bills?
Because it was her responsibility. She had her own, she went and got a different job, you know, and the money was running out, you know, from me selling the business and stuff like that. It was her responsibility. I still paid the house payment.
Just a second. What kind of an arrangement did you make with her with regard to the bills, sir?
Well, she would pay the phone bill, she would pay the electric bill, she would pay the NSP and the gas bill, and, you know, just little bills around the house. I mean, they weren't like the house payment or anything else like that.
Is the house in both your names or just in your name?
It was in my name.
Why would you want to make a house payment that's in your name?
Why would she drive a car that wasn't hers?
I mean, you must have given her permission.
Well, exactly.
Okay. Did you make an agreement with him to pay certain of the bills?
Yes, I did.
Did you pay those bills?
No, I didn't. At the time when I moved out, he had told me specifically that I did not need to pay no bills because I was not living there. So
Well, just
I
a
didn't
minute.
pay him.
For how long hadn't you paid the bills?
Oh, it was just, I don't know, probably
When
a
did you
month.
move out?
It was November 4th. And November 5th, I do believe.
So November. In August, did you pay the bills?
I am not sure.
When was the last time she paid the household bills, sir?
Sometime right around August, September. I got all the paperwork
August or
right.
September? Just listen to me carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
August or September. So she had paid whatever bills you're talking about through, say, September. So we're talking about October.
We're talking September, October, and November, ma'am.
Why didn't she pay in September?
I don't know why she didn't pay.
So what did you say to her when she didn't pay them?
I didn't know she didn't pay them. When I came home from work after she had moved out, NSP had a disconnection notice on my door to shut off my electricity at my home.
So you didn't know that those bills
No,
weren't being
ma'am,
paid?
I did not. She told me when she moved out, I asked her specifically about the bills, and I asked her father at the time about the bills. And she told me that she had paid those bills,
Okay.
and she had mailed them out.
Fine. And she didn't.
And she did
so
not.
she was saving a couple of dollars.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sean McMurray says ex-fiancée Melissa Slack owes for unpaid bills and for the return of engagement jewelry.
How much do you owe on the bills that she had agreed to pay?
It's $1,092.64, Your Honor.
All right. Are we finished with you?
I do believe that's all I have right at the present time. If I can get my kids' bed back, I'd greatly appreciate it.
No, you
you
can't. She took the bed. She needs a place to sleep. What else?
She moved back into her mother's house, Your Honor. She
I
had a
s-
bed at her mom's house. She
I
had
assume
two
she
beds
did.
at her mom's
I
house.
assume she did. Okay. What are your kids sleeping in, the bunk bed?
I had to go buy them a brand new bunk bed.
So now they have a new bunk bed.
Yeah, I had to buy
Way
it.
to go. Okay. Anything you want to tell me about these utility bills that you
Yeah.
didn't pay? What?
Basically, that he put all the bills in a pile at the house. We went through them together, and me and him actually got in an argument over this whole deal because he put them underneath a big pile of bills, and I said, why didn't you bring this to my attention? I do not receive the mail. It's his house. He receives the mail. He did not bring it to my attention that the bills were due. I had bought in things for the dogs, the kids, the house, as far as food and everything else. That's where my money went.
But you had agreed with him to pay the utility bills.
That's what he wants to say, but it
No, I'm
wasn't
asking you.
really an agreement.
Well,
It
were you
wasn't like
paying
that
those
because-
bills for the months before September?
Yep.
Of course you were.
Because I had another different
All
job.
right,
and I was,
good. Okay, so you are going to, within 5 days, return his ring and his necklace.
Okay.
Not yours. Yours is a gift. And pay for the utility bills that you were supposed to pay for in the amount of $1,092. Judgment?
Your Honor, can
What?
I ask one more question?
Yes.
In my box, along with my gold necklace, was the receipt for my gold necklaces. Along with that receipt was the certificate for the warranty. Now the thing has a lifetime warranty
A
on it.
warranty for a necklace?
It's a Duragold necklace from Kohl's department store.
I don't know what Duragold is.
What it is it's you buy an extra. It's like paying for a necklace. You buy the next higher grade. It's a Duragold is what it's called. And along with that necklace, if it breaks at any time,
Like
you bring
me,
it
they
back
saw
to the
you
department
coming.
store.
I never heard of Duragold. Did you ever hear of Duragold?
No, but anything's
You
possible.
bring it back to the department store at any time, they'll replace it for no cost. Without that receipt, the necklace
If
is
she has a
useless.
copy of the receipt,
She
should
has
make...
the receipt.
Well, she needs one too, because I assume that you bought her a Duragold
And there are two
necklace
receipts
too.
in that paperwork, yes, ma'am.
You have an extra copy of the warranty for him?
But can I also mention that when he had showed me the necklace, the first one I got was for Christmas. The second one, he had told me specifically it was in case I ever lost this necklace, it was another one because it was such a good deal.
Give him his necklace back. It didn't work out. Put a period. Move on. You look like two nice young people. Do your children live with you, sir?
I have them part-time every other weekend.
How old are they?
One's 11 and one's 3.
They're a full-time job, right?
Yeah, they are.
I just remember something my mother used to say to me. 2 children aren't twice as hard as 1. It's 10 times as hard. And 3 children are probably 300 times as hard as 2. I just want you to remember that.
I will.
Good.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Very defensive, very angry man he is.
I'm not an angry person. We both have our problems, you know what I mean? We're not angry people, we just don't get along together.
I never ever once wanted to hurt him or harm him.
Biggest kick in my face I've ever had.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Awald versus Wilson, step forward, please.
50-year-old bail bondsman Linda Awald is suing 31-year-old Lori Wilson for skipping bail.
Miss Awald, you are a bail bonds lady.
Correct, Your Honor.
You don't know the defendant other than through business, is that right?
Only through business.
According to your complaint, she contacted you because she was arrested for something. Pay attention, Miss Wilson. You were driving with a suspended license?
Yes, ma'am.
And she was being held in jail. She asked you to arrange the bail. You did. You claim she owes you some money.
Correct.
She never paid for the bond, which was $150.
That's right, Your Honor.
And she made a series of collect calls. When did she call you?
Starting on October 5th, as I accepted the calls, I noticed a very distraught young lady. She was crying all the time. I do have a heart, so it got to me a little bit, enough to where
What did she say?
She said she was in jail and she needed to get out.
How much did it cost for you to issue the bond?
$150, Your Honor.
And how is that done?
She had money on the commissary books.
What does that mean on the commissary books?
That means when she went into jail, she had $170.76 on her, and they confiscate the money, put it on their records, and issue her a check upon her release. Sometimes I do this, if they have the money on the books, it's issued in their name back to them, and then they must sign it and put payable to Linda Awald.
Now I understand. So you said, I'll get the bond for you, which will be $150, and instead of you getting your check for the money that you had when you were arrested, you'll assign it to me, and that's how I'll get paid.
That's correct.
Okay. So she was, in fact, released?
She was, in fact, released, yes.
What happened to her check?
The officer that was going to be releasing Miss Wilson told me that he would confiscate the check back from her and hold it for me. And the officer got slightly distracted, I believe, and he released her.
With the check?
He released her, and she picked up the check and ran.
Okay. When was she due back in court?
She was due back in court on the 7th of October.
Did she show up?
No, she didn't, Your Honor.
So what happened?
So that issues a warrant for her arrest. At that time, it is my duty to either recover her or arrange for a recovery agent, which was done. And she turned herself in after 2 weeks. She went to the courtroom, I believe on the 6th of November, and Ms. Wilson and I did talk a little bit. She came over and approached me, which I thought was big of her. Ms. Wilson was wanting very much to clear things up. She now has 3 children and 1 grandchild, and the grandchild means the world and all to her. I think enough to maybe turn her head at that point in time.
Did she give you your $150?
She never paid me.
Okay, Miss Wilson, let's go. Let's start with, you call her. You tell her you want her to bail you out of jail. She tells you it's $150. You tell her that you have a commissary check. You left with the commissary check. Why?
Because my boyfriend was supposed to have paid her.
He didn't.
I told her if he didn't pay, if she really didn't get her money, I told her I would give her her money.
But you didn't.
$10. No, I haven't yet. I don't have it, ma'am.
All right. So you didn't give her the $150. You have no proof that the boyfriend gave her $150, which is what you said in your
He was
answer.
supposed to when I
I don't supposed to. All you had to do was say to your boyfriend, did you give her the $150?
I hadn't seen him.
But you did see him eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
So?
And he did say he didn't give her the money.
Why didn't you show up in court when you were supposed to on the 7th of October?
I really don't have a good explanation for that.
Okay, that's honest. You were arrested for driving with a suspended license?
Yes, ma'am.
This is the first time you were arrested?
No, ma'am.
No. So you've been through bonding procedures before?
Yes, ma'am.
So you know the drill?
Yes, ma'am.
How many different bail bondsmen have you used in the past?
Just 2.
Did you stiff the last one?
No. I wasn't trying to take anything from her.
Yeah, you were. You took your money. You have 3 children. How old are they, Miss Wilson?
15, 13, and 11.
Who do they live with?
My mom.
Your 15-year-old has a child?
Yes, ma'am.
Where does that child live?
With my mother.
You don't live with your mother.
I moved in there about a month ago.
Your mother has custody of the children?
Yes, ma'am.
Who are you working for now?
I'm not.
You have a substance abuse problem?
Yeah, I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic.
Have you ever been into a residential rehabilitation program?
Yeah.
How long?
60 days.
Didn't work? No.
No.
Why don't you try longer? You got 3 children.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you're going to have to find something.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I've arranged for her a victory home. It's run by a pastor and his daughter, but this is a commitment on her part and she must make that commitment voluntarily.
What got you so interested in her, Miss AWOL? You don't go the extra mile for everybody.
No. I felt sorry. I have kind of a soft heart if they cry a lot. And she cried a whole lot. And I felt right away very strongly that this girl is on a dead-end road.
How old are you, Miss Wilson?
31.
All right, you're a 31-year-old grandmother. Got 3 children, none of whom live with you. You could either be dead by the time you're 40, or you can be a parent to your children and a grandparent to your grandchild. It's all up to you. Probably been abusing yourself for a very long time. Time to stop. When are you going to stop? 31. When are you going to stop? When?
Now?
I hope so. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 478 on the calendar in the matter of Germani versus Wally. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Germani, you and the defendant were married. You are now divorced. How long were you married?
5 years.
Do you have children together?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children?
2.
Who do the children live with?
They live with me.
According to your complaint, after the divorce, your wife ran up a bill on your American Express card.
Yes, ma'am.
And then she went into what had been a joint account of yours.
It's actually what it was a home equity account.
And she withdrew $2,000 from
correct.
that home equity, and there was $3,000 in the reserve fund that you could have drawn from.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You don't deny that you ran up this bill on American Express?
No, I don't deny that I ran it up.
Okay.
I don't believe I owe him anything.
Okay. We'll get to it in a second.
Okay.
When were you divorced? What was the date of the divorce?
July 17th, 2000.
And when was the first charge on the American Express card?
November.
November of 2000.
November 2000.
So it was clearly after the divorce?
Yes.
Okay. And how much did you charge on the American Express card?
$1,000.
How much?
$1,344.79.
Explain to me why you don't owe him that money.
Well, first of all, because I thought this was my account, he gave me the card in an envelope. And also, he told me, after I did it, he told me, first of all, he said he was going to press charges. Then, a couple of days later, he called me back and said, don't worry about it. I'm not going to press any charges.
Ms. Wally, you thought this was your account that you were charging things on that you wanted and that you planned to pay for.
Yes.
Is that right?
Right.
So why don't you pay for them?
Because he said, don't worry about it.
No, he didn't. He said,
Yes,
don't worry,
he
I'm
did.
not going to press charges.
He
There's a
said,
difference.
don't worry about it. I told him, I'll make the payments. He says, how much do you plan on paying? I said, I don't know, $30, $40 a week, a month.
Get out of here. You don't pay American Express that way, madam. You have to pay them the balance in full. All right, forget that. You owe $1,344.79. I don't know where your head is. Now, you withdrew $2,000 from a home equity line of credit.
It's also my account. I have every right to it. If it's
Who said so?
Who said so?
You have a
my
judge-
credit report.
No
the bank.
way, Miss Wally. Get your head together. You are divorced from him. You cannot obligate him for anything anymore. When you have a home equity line of credit, you have to pay that back. Who's supposed to pay it back? You or him?
I told him I was going to make payments on it because I needed a car to be able to go see my kids because they told me they were not a taxi service and that I should get a car in order to pay, in order to be able to see my kids. So I needed a car right away so I can go see my kids whenever I felt like it, which even after that, I wasn't able to go see my kids.
Miss
Thanks,
Wally,
Leanne.
Miss Wally, hey, do you pay child support?
No.
Why not?
We have joint custody with
He
the
lives-
children living primarily with the father, and no custody is to be paid as long as the custody remains joint. And the only
Oh, so
reason
you
why
gave
the
it-
custody
is that
is
what you're
joint,
Listen.
the only reason why the custody is joint was because I was afraid to fight him against this because he was always telling me, all you are is a poor Mexican wetback without an education, and the judge is not going to listen to you.
Miss Wally, listen to me. You don't sound like you're a victim to me. You sound very smart. If you accessed a home equity line of credit and took out money, and if you spent $1,300.44 on things. By the way, what did you buy on American Express?
If I may,
Yeah, let me see.
I have
I'm just curious if you were in such dire need to have a
these
car.
are the actual,
Why
This
would you
was way
spend?
before I needed
the
to
actual
have a car.
tickets that were signed.
Because he had let me use his car for a while until Leanne moved in and they needed the car to trade it in for a Durango.
dresses. So you bought yourself clothes. Clarence, you bought makeup and stuff. Eyewear and eye exams. Was that for you?
Yes, it was.
Who'd you buy shoes for?
He's wearing them.
He's wearing them.
Mm-hmm.
You bought men's shoes for your former husband?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Actually, the shoes I'm wearing I bought myself.
Did she buy you a pair of shoes?
I received shoes in Christmas as a Christmas present for my children of December of 2000.
Okay. So, Miss Wally, once you are divorced, all of your financial obligations to the other are concluded. You cannot obligate him to do anything. If you used his American Express card and expected him to pay the bill, you are mistaken.
I didn't expect him to pay the
then
bill.
You have to pay the bill.
I expected to pay the bill myself.
Good, then you pay the bill. And as far as the
only thing is, then he told me, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the payments or anything.
No, Miss Wally, you're not paying attention. If you said to him, I'll pay the American Express account $20 or $30 a month, he can't say to you that's okay because American Express does not take their money at $20 or $30 a month. They're not a Visa or a MasterCard where you can pay so much and you owe them for the rest of your life. So you owe him this money. And if you said to him, if you gave him an alternative, that alternative was unsatisfactory because his credit would be in the toilet. As far as the home equity is concerned, the home equity is merely a line of credit. That is not money in the bank in a joint account. It's money that has to be returned. And just because the line of credit may have been taken out at a time when you were together doesn't mean that you are able to take advances on that money and expect him to pay for it.
I didn't expect him to pay for it.
So good. So what are we doing here? You owe him.
He's the one that brought me here.
Never received any money.
Because you told me it was okay. You told me.
Oh, please,
he
Mr.
told
Germani,
me.
Mr.
No.
Germani,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Germani, listen to me very carefully,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
I don't know whether she just doesn't get it or whether she just doesn't get it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mark Germani says ex-wife Isela Wally made charges on his credit card after their divorce. Isela says she had every right to use it.
She owes you $3,344.79.
I agree.
That's what she owes you. And if she doesn't get it, she doesn't get it. I would suggest you do the smart thing. If you haven't closed out all your accounts by now, publish notices. I suggest that you do that. She is angry. She will continue to be angry. I have no idea if she's working, why she's not paying child support if you have primary custody of the children.
We have joint
she should
custody.
Be. No.
Yeah.
You may have joint legal custody, madam, but if primary physical custody resides in one parent, the other parent pays child support. That's it. And I don't care whether you wear a dress or a skirt or you wear pants. The other parent pays child support. You're lucky you're not paying child support. Don't take further advantage of the situation. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The only reason why we're here is because Leanne is the one who wanted to proceed with this.
Actually, the woman in my life has opened my eyes to the fact that this will continue to happen unless I do something about it.
I shouldn't have had to pay this money because he told me not to worry about it.
Get a lawyer when you get divorced.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Horsford versus Conrad. Step forward, please.
44-year-old homemaker Cindy Horsford is suing her former friend, 34-year-old real estate administrator Christina Conrad, for an unpaid loan.
Ms. Horsford, according to your complaint, you've known the defendant for about 9 years. You met at a 12-step program, a recovery program.
Correct.
And there came a time recently that you became reacquainted with her after a lapse in time. She was in need of money, and you loaned her some money. She says she did borrow some money from you, not as much as you claim, but that you have her coat, which is worth more than what she owes you. So, when did she first ask you for money?
Probably August, July, August. Or...
That's not true.
It's either, it's maybe November, I'm not real sure.
August
That's
or
more like it.
November?
November might be more like it, yeah.
Go to November. So she asked you for money in November. Under what circumstances?
She had owed a man money that she had an accident with.
And how much money did you lend her?
$200.
Did you give her check or cash?
Cash.
And when did you again lend her money?
It was around...
Miss Horsford, did you know you were coming to court today? Did you know you were coming to court today,
Yes.
madam? Well, you're
I'm
coming to
just
court.
not-
Listen to me. You're coming to court today because you had 2 loans that you made to the defendant. This is not a complicated antitrust case. You made 2 loans. Such and such a date, this much. This is when I made it, this much. Because the questions are going to get harder. These are the easy questions, Miss Horsford. So when was the second loan? Let's give it to me again. Date and under what circumstances, madam?
The date was approximately the 18th of December, and it was for jewelry she had in the pawn shop that she had to make payments on her jewelry.
And how much did you give her that time?
Another $200.
Okay, and you also gave her cash?
Correct.
Anything else?
Yes, and I gave her an additional $60 after she had been asked to please leave.
Explain that to me.
Okay, I asked her to leave after about a week.
You mean she came to live with you?
Her daughter and her stayed for about a week.
Oh.
Which she insisted that I do.
Did she give you back any of that money?
Yes, she did.
How much did she give you back?
$50.
Now tell me about this coat that she says you have of hers.
She left a black leather jacket in my room, and I hung it up in my closet.
And it's still there?
I have it with me.
Oh, you have it with you? Great, so you can give it to her outside the courtroom.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
Fine. Okay. Now, you gave her back $50?
$50, correct. And it was nowhere near the amount that she stated. She loaned me a total of $120, the bulk of that of which went towards getting my jewelry back, which she insisted on giving me. She stated that I stole $460. This was the original, what I was served. Now, if I stole it, my first question in my mind was...
Just a minute.
If I stole it...
Why did you write her that she stole money?
Because she wasn't going to pay me back. I figured that's stolen money.
No, it's loaned money. Do you have any proof that you gave her $460? Have any withdrawals from a bank?
No.
Well, where did you have this cash from?
I had it in my heart box in my drawer, and she knew where it was, too. I was saving
The
it.
heart box you couldn't find.
Well, I have a problem here. She acknowledges that she still owes you some money, like $70. Is that right?
Correct. And may I say something, Your Honor?
Mm-hmm.
I had money that was supposed to be coming to me by a certain date. It didn't. She had made several phone calls, leaving messages on my machine, asking to speak to my boyfriend. I left her the message and said, you know, can you please not involve my boyfriend or leave notes in my mother's mailbox? We're two full-grown women. It's between you and I. She went into an absolute tantrum, told me that she, quote unquote, did not want to see my face until I had all of her money, and furthermore, wasn't going to keep her mouth shut. She was going to call my boyfriend and tell him whatever she felt like.
Go ahead.
When I got home that night, my boyfriend had gotten off the phone with her and was outraged about all kinds of allegations that she'd made, that I was chasing after her boyfriend, this and that.
Oh.
So I went to her a couple days later and knocked on her door. I had $70 cash. She goes, what do you want? And I said, I need my jacket. I was going to go on to say, and when you give me my jacket, I will give you your money. She slammed the door in my face, proceeded to throw a tantrum on the other side of the door, and I left and thought, let's just leave it lie, let the dust settle till after the holidays, and then I'll go back and reapproach the situation. Before that could happen, I got served with papers.
Okay. Bird, will you see to it that the coat is turned over outside to the defendant?
Sure thing.
Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $70. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Martin versus Moss. Step forward, please.
Nanny Gail Martin is suing her former employer, day spa owner Kimberly Moss, for non-payment of services rendered. Kimberly says Gail abused her 10-year-old daughter, Lauren.
Miss Martin, you answered an ad in the paper for child care and light housework that the defendant had placed in the paper. It is your claim that you worked there and you were not fully paid before she let you go.
That's correct.
Okay. The defendant says you were, in fact, fully paid. Are these the two children she was supposed to take care of?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you answer the ad and when did you start working?
I answered the ad the first day I noticed it was in there, and there were 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. And I started to work on, the first week was October the 10th, and the second week was October the 15th.
Okay, what was the pay arrangement?
She told me, I told her what I got at my last job, and she said I paid $10 an hour. And after the first week, which was the Friday, but I had to come back Saturday, she only paid me the $300 from the first 3 days.
Well, whatever it was,
it wasn't enough because I had worked that first week.
The first week, how many days did you work?
4 days.
Is that correct?
I really don't remember.
Well, if you don't remember, then I have to rely on her. And the second week you worked, how many days did you work?
I worked Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. 3
And
days.
how much were you paid during that 2-week
None.
period? Yes, you were.
The whole time I worked there, she paid me $300.
Okay. How much did you pay her?
When she first came to my employment, we agreed that she would get $100 a day. And
Really, not $10 an hour?
No. And-
$100 a day, irrespective of how many hours she worked?
Right.
First week she worked 4 days, and you gave her how much?
Whatever it was, she
said you only gave her $300.
Well, that's not accurate. Whatever I owed her is what I paid her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nanny Gail Martin says former employer Kimberly Moss owes for babysitting fees. Kimberly says Gail threw her 10-year-old daughter in the shower with her clothes on.
So, what happened the second week?
The second week, she was paid up. On the last day, her car broke down. She asked if she could stay with us overnight for a couple days because she didn't have transportation to and from work. And I said that would be fine until she got her car fixed. The first morning of the night that she stayed over, there was a problem. And what happened was I was in bed. My daughter Chelsea came running to me to wake me up, telling me that Gail had put Lauren, my baby, into the hot shower with her nightgown on. So I got up and ran into her bedroom, and there she was crying, cuddled up in the corner in the hot shower. So I got in the shower with her in my nightgown and blocked the hot water from her and adjusted the temperature, and to try to reduce the trauma of what had already occurred, took a shower with her, got her out, we all got ready for school, took her to school. That is why my secretary drove her home, because if I was to confront her about it, it would have turned out ugly. So I had my secretary relieve her from.
Did you
That
put
was
the
the
child
last
in the
day.
shower?
No, ma'am. I would never do that to a child under any circumstances. Never. And if this did happen, how come she didn't call HRS? That's what I'd like to know. When she told me she
Which
didn't have
child
the
was in
money.
the shower?
The baby, Lauren, was.
Lauren? Come up here. Tell me about the shower.
I was in bed and I didn't want to get up because I didn't feel good. And then she picked me.
You mean get up to go to school?
Yeah. And she picked me up out of the bed and put me in the shower, and she turned the hot water on with my nightgown on.
No question in your mind about that?
Mm-mm.
Where was your sister?
She was in bed with me.
Had that ever happened before?
No.
Okay, go sit down. All right. Miss Moss, the plaintiff worked for you for 3 days, the second week.
Correct.
Did you pay her?
I do not remember the exact amount of time that she was under our employment.
Fine. Then I have to rely on her records for those days.
That's fine.
That she was. Now, at that point, did you fire her?
That day, absolutely.
That day, she was let go.
Absolutely.
Okay. You say not. Is that right?
No, she explained to me she was going to go to Daytona Beach with her boyfriend, and that her business that she just opened, her Kimberly's Day Spa, they do facials
Whatever.
and massages.
You were
and
told
whatever.
that your services were no longer
Yes,
necessary.
because her business hadn't taken off like she expected it to, and that she couldn't afford it. This child that's wearing that nice little Sunday school outfit, that's not what they wore when I worked there. They dressed shamelessly.
What do you mean shamelessly?
They dressed in little Daisy Dukes with half their butt poking out the bottom, and little things with their belly buttons showing, and trying to go to school like that. They were, and makeup, and they were hellions.
And what about
They were 9 and 11, going on 17.
Go ahead.
I came back on the Monday to collect some money that she owed me from that previous week. Her oldest son was changing the locks on her house door. And I said, well, what happened? He says, don't expect to find any money here. We had a break-in. Our safe was broken into, but I didn't see any black powder anywhere. So he said, we don't have any money to pay you. So why would she have to do that if she paid me the week before?
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
ergo.
Okay. You work there according to your records, and since she doesn't have any records of her own, which she should have, total of 7 days. I am crediting her testimony that your agreement was $100 a day, and that she paid you, according to your records, which I am crediting, $300, which means she owes you $400, and I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. That's case number 84 on the calendar in the matter of Dennis versus Pierce. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
All right, I have a claim and I have a countersuit. The claim is that, Miss Dennis, you bought a home from the defendant
Yes, ma'am.
on substantial acreage, 5 acres?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And it is your claim that there was a damaged bathtub.
A latent defect, yes.
Don't give me latent defect. There was a damaged bathtub.
Yes, ma'am.
And it cost you a substantial amount of money to fix that bathtub.
Yes, ma'am.
In addition, you claim that the defendant has embarked upon a course of harassment by calling Child Protective Services on your family, for which you also want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says he never made any calls to Child Protective Services. Is that right, sir?
This is true, Your Honor.
That the home that you purchased was purchased as one usually purchases a home. You had a home inspection, an inspector of your own choosing, and whatever defect was found should have been found by the inspector. He says, however, that you actually owe him money. You had left certain property with the consent of the plaintiff on the acreage in a shed, and it was the arrangement that you would take that property after the closing.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And that the defendant, in retaliation for the fact that you weren't going to pay her for this bathtub, locked the shed, couldn't get to your property. Subsequently, the shed was removed. She put your property at another location, and a lot of it was either damaged or destroyed.
It's true.
Okay. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's your claim.
Yes.
So, Miss Dennis, when did you purchase the house from Mr. Pierce?
On January 22nd.
And when did you have the home inspection?
I have a copy of it here.
I'd like to see it.
It was done before we bought the home.
Of course. Stupid to have it afterwards.
This is the advertisement of the home.
No. I just want to see your inspection.
Your Honor, it claims 2 full baths, and being how one of the tubs was damaged, it was only considered 1.5 baths.
Is that what you're trying to tell me? That because the home was advertised 2 full baths and there was a crack in one of the bathtubs, he misrepresented the home to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, get a life. Bird, would you buy a house where the report of findings said, visible evidence of wood-destroying organisms observed, wood rot and subterranean termites, wood rot, subfloor, under bathrooms, says damaged, tub, shower, and walls, damage, deterioration, noted at tub, plastic tub, cracked right front corner. All right, let me hear your claim with regard to this bathtub, madam.
The bathtub was cracked all the way in the middle of the tub. It was hidden with a decorative non-slip strip. Basically, my father-in-law, who is also my realtor, considered it, saw it. It was a latent defect.
Wasn't a latent defect. You had an inspector.
The inspector could not find it because it was covered up.
The inspector shouldn't be an idiot. The inspector noted wood rot under the bathtub.
Because of the water damage.
Right. Hello? If there's wood rot under the bathtub, something must be leaking. My goodness, where is that leaking from? Let me take a look in the bathtub.
They thought it was from termites, ma'am.
Listen, that's not his fault. That's your inspector's fault. Sue your inspector, not him. I mean, I don't know anything about the mechanisms of a house. I know how to go in, turn on a light, turn on a faucet. That's what I know. Open a refrigerator, and occasionally, if rarely, turn on an oven. But I do know this, that when you buy a house, you have a complete inspection, and it's simplistic that if there's wood rot that he notes twice under a bathtub, then you go and you peel off whatever is there, the strips that you put in so that you don't slip and fall, you peel it off, and you say, that's where it's leaking from.
It was covered up, ma'am. And the home inspector was not allowed to peel off the tape.
Who said that?
Because it was
Who
his
said that?
home. It was his home. And the home
Miss
inspector...
Dennis, Miss Dennis, you didn't look carefully enough, and stop blaming other people. Now, let's get to the next part of your complaint. The next part of your complaint has to do with harassment.
Yes.
Okay. Now, did this harassment start before or after you locked the shed where Mr. Pierce's property was located?
We have an amendment signed by the contract at the closing that says that Mr. Pierce was not allowed to move his contents until the shed company came. The shed was not removed until a month later. The shed company also said that it was repossessed when it was picked up, which meant even though they would have kept his belongings.
Can you answer my question? The word is either before or after.
Before, during, and after.
So tell me when you locked the shed.
The 24th after I confronted him.
24th of what?
January, 2 days later after the closing.
Okay, 24th of January.
When I confronted him about the crack tub.
And he said what to you?
That tub's fine, my kids use it all the time.
Okay.
And I said, well, how come you didn't disclose it to the home inspector, the realtor, or anybody else about the crack tub? You know, maybe we could have negotiated a different price. Maybe I could, you know, just make me aware of it. He did not make me aware of it. My daughter could not bathe for days.
What he said to you was, my kids use that tub all the time, which is probably true because there was so much water underneath that the wood rotted, and the tub was fine. But on the 24th, you confronted him, 2 days after you closed. When did you lock the shed?
The 23rd.
You locked the shed the 23rd after you discovered the crack.
Before.
Your Honor, if I may.
Go ahead.
When I went to go pick up my possessions, which was on the 24th of January, the shed wasn't still locked. They advised me that there was a problem and that I had to deal with my realtor and her realtor at the time, which is her father-in-law. Well, in that event, I said to her, well, I came to get my Jeep and my stuff. She said, no, you're not getting it. And she was even going to hold my Jeep hostage.
No,
so I told her that I will not do this. If you want, we could resolve this with the deputies. She did give me my Jeep. I thought I would let this blow over. I had already scheduled to go up north on vacation. I already had a scheduled pickup for Cook. Cook, this doesn't come.
You had a
scheduled pickup for the shed and the contents to be picked up.
What do you mean, this is a rented shed?
It's a rented shed, yes it is. I had to make 3 different plans, 3 different arrangements to have the shed picked up. Finally, Cook Shed agreed to have this shed repoed, because then that would be a base of action for them to go on and retrieve that property. There was no other way of getting it. They withheld me from getting that shed. I was willing to get it that week of closing.
You mean the week of the 24th?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Your Honor,
yes.
If I may, we signed a leased contract stating that Cook's Shed would pick up shed and contents, not Mr. Pierce would come and pick up contents.
You were getting even. You were using the contents of the shed as leverage for the cracked bathtub.
Ma'am.
Miss Dennis,
yes.
I want you to listen. You know, that's a rather simplistic thing. He's got property on your property.
Right.
You come in, and 2 days later or the next day find out that there's a cracked bathtub, and you're angry. So you say, I'm not giving him his property back until we resolve the issue of this bathtub. You have to be honest with me, madam.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
HRS came to my house, and my fiance committed suicide over this. And I have a baby that's 8 months old now that will never see his father.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Roseanne Dennis says Terry Pierce misrepresented the sale of his home by camouflaging a cracked bathtub. Terry says Roseanne is holding his belongings hostage.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, I was told to do that by my attorney.
Just a minute. I don't care whether you were told to do it, but that was, listen to me, Miss Dennis,
yes.
That's the drill. Don't give him his property.
Until I was able to serve him.
Until you get satisfaction with regard to the bathtub. Now, what happened to his property?
Ma'am, the thing of it is that I was told that basically he would not give his address to my realtor or his realtor or anybody else so we could find him so I could serve him court papers. I had to hire a private investigator to try and find out his address because he wouldn't disclose it to anybody. I wanted to do this the civil way. I didn't want him on my property. I was scared of Mr. Pierce. I had to buy a gun. My fiance, HRS came to my house, and my fiance committed suicide over this. And I have a baby that's 8 months old now that will never see his father.
Your fiance did not commit suicide over this, Miss Dennis.
We were harassed by HRS.
Miss Dennis.
We were harassed by HRS on the same day that the sheriff came to look for his property, and he was not there. HRS came.
Miss Dennis.
That was a coincidence.
Miss Dennis. If you've deluded yourself into believing that your fiancé committed suicide over this cracked tub and everything that came from it, you are doing nothing more than deluding yourself.
It caused a lot
You
of
are
problems
doing,
between
it
us.
may have caused a lot of problems between you, problems that I'm certain existed before. Certainly the same bathtub happened to you. You did not commit suicide as a result of this cracked bathtub, and
Ma'am,
neither
I
did
didn't
your
think that I would
fiancé.
lose
And neither
my
did your
children. My
fiancé.
fiancé did. He was scared that he was going to lose our baby. He didn't know anything about protective services. This was his first child.
Listen to me carefully. Nobody took your child from you, correct?
No,
Nobody
but
took the
my
child out of the
fiancé-
house, Miss Dennis.
My fiancé did not understand that, Your
Well.
Honor. He thought protective services would continuously bug us. I got an HRS report here that says that the allegations were false. The call was made on the same day that the police
From
came
me.
to look from his stuff.
HRS said Terry Pierce.
And
Mr.
basically,
Pierce,
Sorry, ma'am.
don't interrupt.
Ma'am, if I could just submit that it was the same day that the sheriff came to look for his belongings and they were not on the property, that's the same day HRS was called.
That's not proof that he called, madam.
Your Honor, if
I don't
may.
know who else was.
I
We
don't know
just
who else
moved there.
called either, but what I'm telling
I
you is
just
you
moved
bought a
there.
house.
I didn't know anybody else in that county.
This is a stressful time for you. You have a new baby. Baby's father is no longer there to assist you. You made a mistake when you purchased this house by not reading this inspection very carefully. Any person purchasing a house, bells would have gone off and said, listen, if there's rot, there has to be a reason. I want you to go back there. I'm not satisfied with the report. I want you to go back there and look at it. See what's causing that water to get into the wood underneath the bathtub. You didn't do that. The house is closed. Miss Dennis, speak not. But you had no right. You have no right to withhold his property. I mean, if a lawyer gave you that advice, don't give him his property until you get the bathtub resolved.
No,
That's the
only
wrong
until I
thing
could
to do.
serve him.
What kind of damage are you claiming, Mr. Pierce?
Well, Your Honor, the contents that I had in the shed, which they allegedly said they never had, was damaged. It was destroyed. Well, I had a computer. I have a list. The stuff was damaged and destroyed, and a loss of wages from the tools that they withheld. They stole all my documentation from my income tax returns for the last 7 years, my investment portfolio papers. They took photographs of my wife, my children, and which we never had gotten.
You never got them back?
I never got them back, ma'am. No, I didn't.
What did the plaintiff do with your property?
They lied about their identities to the sheriffs. Okay, that's why the sheriffs had to keep coming back to the house. They were getting no cooperation. They lied
Just a
about who
second.
they were.
I asked you a question. I said, what did they do? The shed came and got taken away. When the shed came and was repossessed, was your stuff in the shed?
No, it wasn't, because I was there that day. They
Okay.
came and picked up the stuff.
What happened to the
It
property?
wound up in a used storage facility down by her ex-father-in-law down in Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
And
So
I
they
also,
moved the property out of the shed
yes,
into another facility.
yes, and they claim they never had it.
From what place did you take his property and where did you put it?
I removed the property out of the shed and I put it in use store it. The woman who works there, Joyce, watched as his property was being removed, and basically she noticed that nothing had been
Don't
damaged.
tell me what she noticed, Miss Dennis. You made a big mistake. You have absolutely no legal justification or right to move his property from where it was to you store it. And if anything happened to that property from the time he put it in there until the time he finally retrieved whatever he retrieved from you store it, you are responsible. There is no legal right that you had to move it. Let me see what you claim, Mr. Pierce, was destroyed and or lost.
Here's a list from the sheriff's department, and here's some paycheck stubs as of last week.
I'm not interested in paycheck stubs,
Well,
sir.
that's part of the loss.
I'm not entertaining the part of the lawsuit that indicates that
Okay.
they withheld tools and therefore you couldn't work. That's iffy at best. What are you showing me this? I asked you what you could
There's a
prove.
list, an itemized list from the sheriff's department. My work tools.
You never got them back?
No, I never got them back. Which ones I did get back were broken. And the gentleman who owns you store it, I made him... See, I couldn't open up the combination lock because I was really upset that day. And I made the owner of the storage facility come to the place, and he opened it up in my presence, and he saw that the stuff was just thrown in there.
There's no question in my mind it was just thrown in there.
Ma'am,
I want to see, sir, a bill for repairing the computer.
I never repaired it. I just went and bought a new one. I paid $1,199 for that unit that has been broken, but I went to Gateway and I bought a new one for $799.
What else?
My radio arm saws, my chop boxes, tools that I use. I install windows for a living.
Okay. Do you have any bills, Mr. Pierce, any receipts for the replacement of those tools?
No, but the deputy who wrote up the report, he had made a list of what the stuff was worth.
I'm not interested in what the deputy thought the stuff was worth,
Right.
Mr. Pierce. You say you need these tools for your living. So I assume if you went to the shed and the tools were either lost or destroyed, you had to replace them.
Well, I did.
So all I'm asking you is for the receipts so that I can see how much it cost to replace the tools that you said were missing.
I didn't think to bring them because of the fact that they were written on paper. I showed the deputy report.
Just a second. Give this back to me. This is nonsense.
Your Honor,
Okay.
nothing was damaged or broken.
Just a second. Mr. Pierce, I'm not stupid lady.
I know you're not. But
Fine. Then when you come to court, you don't tell me what a deputy thought your tools were worth.
I had to prove
what
to
you
them.
do. What you do is you bring receipts to court
Right.
so that you show me I bought this saw and this is what it cost.
You're right.
All right. So you don't have that. What else?
That's about it, except for the
Your Honor, may I
loss
say
of
something,
wages.
please?
Who are you?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Marguerite Dennis, Roseanne's mother.
Sure. What do you have
Co-owner
to
of the-
contribute to this?
May I address the court?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, in a separate transaction from purchasing the home, we bought some furniture, and inadvertently, not realizing what all we had bought from his wife, he packed one of the pieces of furniture that we had bought. So he agreed to bring it back to us the next day.
What was that piece of furniture?
It was a wicker love bench.
Okay.
And at that time, he was welcomed onto the property to get his vehicle. And at that point in time, he had every opportunity to go to the shed, get his work tools, or get whatever else he wanted to. Common sense would just tell me that if you're given the opportunity to go into your shed, you inadvertently or purposely left tools that you need in order to do your job, earn your bread and butter, you're going to go and get them. You're going to retrieve them.
Or take them when you
That's
move.
not true, Your Honor.
All I'm telling you is, Miss Dennis, I'm not giving him any money for the tools because he cannot establish to my satisfaction what those tools were.
I understand that, Your
and
Honor.
how much it cost to replace them. I'm also telling you and your daughter that it was the wrong thing to do to move any of his property off the property
I
into you
understand that,
store
Your
it.
Honor.
And I don't care who gave her that advice. It was very bad advice. Miss Dennis, while I'm awarding Mr. Pierce $800 on his counterclaim, and that is really for the computer, because I don't think you can buy a new computer for less than $800.
Ma'am, I have a repair bill for the tub.
I am not.
I know you don't.
I am telling you, that's your fault. If you hired an inspector that didn't do his job,
it was covered up by a
did you
no-slip grip.
understand me? You know, I can't say it to you more than 10 times. If an inspector notes rot under a bathtub, you look further.
He could have disclosed it because it's against the law.
Oh,
to
gee,
not
Miss Dennis,
disclose
you just don't get it. Take responsibility.
Your Honor.
Just a second.
Okay.
Did you give them back the wicker bench?
That's the day I found out that I was not allowed to go into the shed and get my property.
Okay.
So they're lying about that also.
Okay, I'm dismissing the claim, and on the counterclaim, I'm awarding Mr. Pierce $800. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 20.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tate versus Enrico. Step forward, please.
Community advocate Valoria Tate is suing her neighbor, Secretary Laura Enrico, for slander and damage caused by her cats.
Miss Tate, it is your claim that the defendant's cats damaged some of your property. The two of you are neighbors and share a common garage and storage area. Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And that sometime later, when you tried to remedy this situation yourself, the defendant posted flyers around or passed out flyers in the neighborhood accusing you of trying to poison animals and children.
After her neurotic behavior.
Okay. So how long have the two of you been neighbors and share this common space?
I've lived there 5 years, and I'm not sure. I would say she's been there maybe 2 years.
Year and a half now.
Year and a half. You have two cats?
Yes.
Now tell me about this common space that you share.
I have pictures of the common area.
I'd like to see them.
That's supposedly where all of us can use the patio area. And I explained to my neighbor that I'm highly allergic to pets, and I can't go down there and entertain myself or my friends as long as cats are living on our tables.
Go ahead.
So I have several pictures.
Is this the common space that you share?
That's part of it. That's in the garage, and that's my personal space. That table was made for me. It's actually higher than a normal
Just
table.
show me the
Okay.
Just show me the private space that you have for storage.
Please.
Okay. So tell me how her cats destroyed your property.
Well, before they destroyed my literature that I placed in my garage and covered it very well with bags and mothballs, they've already destroyed a couple of plant pots, and used the bathroom in my plant pot.
Did you see that, or did you just
I
assume?
saw that, and when I saw it, I nicely went over to Laura and I told her, "Your cat's potted in my plant and my pot," and she would come over, clean it up and say a few nasty things, but she would clean it up. The second time I did that, she was a little more angrier, and she literally went down to the patio, to the common court area, and she turns around like this. "Some people don't want my cat to, but not poop." Laura has this thing about you can't tell her to clean up behind her own pets because she feels, as she kind of indicated, cats have a right to.
All right, she'll tell me what she feels.
Okay. So therefore, I went to the management. They said they have approached her several times. They pointed out in the CNRs, the rules, that we can only have house pets. In fact, I asked my owner before I moved. I said, "I'm highly allergic."
Can I see the house rules, please?
Yeah. I told him, I said, "I'm highly allergic to pets. Do they have pets?" He says, "No, only house pets."
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valoria Tate says condo neighbor Laura Enrico owes for property damage caused by her cats. Valoria also claims Laura distributed a slanderous flyer calling her a pet killer.
Well, I've read the rules, and the rules clearly say that no pet is to be in a common area. Dog has to be kept on a leash at all times. Is this a picture of your cat on the table?
I can't see it.
Would you give that to her, please?
It's a black cat.
And is your cat a black cat?
He was, yes.
Now, after certain of your property was destroyed, and your complaints say that you found that her cat urinated on a box, right? And there was literature in that box.
Yes.
What did you do?
What did I
According to
do?
your complaint, you put mothballs around the area.
Oh, the reason I put the mothballs is before I left for the trip, her cat was in my area up on top of my boxes. I have never seen the cats on the boxes before at that time. So I went into the house, I had some mothballs, left the boxes on the boxes so you can see what they were, and I went on my trip.
Okay. You had a confrontation with the defendant and a friend of hers accusing you of trying to poison children and animals.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then you said that there were some flyers that were distributed. I'd like to see those.
Your Honor, the flyers were placed on everyone's door in our entire complex. There's 26 units.
Did you place this around?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
You got some nerve. You got some nerve.
I have concern for the animals and the children in the complex.
I want to tell you something. You got some nerve. If you have animals that in any way interfere with your neighbor's peaceful enjoyment of their property, you keep your animals in the house. What right do you have to let your animals outside into common areas, on tables, on chairs? What right do you have to do that? None. And you are so arrogant, as to say the last line here is, if you have a problem with allergies, dislikes, phobias, or such about animals in the building, it might be suggested to move to another building. And you go through this whole grandfather clause because two people had cats that were outside. You say now it's grandfather, so your cats can be outside. If you want to have house pets and you want to let them outside, go buy a house in the woods and let your animals out in the woods where they don't bother anybody. But you live in a condominium complex where there are lots of other people. And it is possible that some adults, some children are afraid of cats. Somebody might want to come and put their lunch on a table, and your cat has just been walking around after walking around in feces, now walks around on the table. That's outrageous. And your reaction is, what? Cats will be cats? I mean, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not, but my cats aren't the only ones in the courtyard. We have a lot of strays that come into the garage and come
That
into the
may
courtyard.
be. She can't complain about strays. Strays are not your problem. Your problem is your 2 cats. Because you are an owner or a tenant.
I'm an owner.
As an owner, you should want to do everything that you can to preserve the integrity of your space. What are you laughing about? Are you on medication?
No, I'm not, Your No, I'm not, Your Honor, but the demonstrations of irrationality never occurred. She threatened me. She followed me.
Let me ask you this question. Did you ever check with the management company to find out whether Miss Tate ever had any problems with prior tenants?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Did you ever have problems with prior tenants?
No.
I would say that you probably didn't. You keep your cats in your house because that's what the rules say. Specifically, rules that you gave and you signed for when you bought your condominium specifically said that only these 2 people, long gone, could have their cats out in the courtyard. You signed it. I assume when you signed it, you read it. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
So why didn't you abide by the rules you signed and read? Rules are your cats stay in your house. Yeah, right. And this is nasty.
Don't like having my animals threatened to be killed.
Well, why don't you keep your animals in your house?
I will from now on.
Perfect. Did we just solve that problem?
Yes, you did, Your Honor.
Fine. She doesn't mention your name in this, does she?
No.
Now, it's very possible that other people knew what she was talking about, but she doesn't mention your name.
May I share with you why she didn't have to?
Go ahead.
Because she made such a big scene about I was trying to kill these cats and children. All the neighbors heard it, and then she called the police. Well, they knew there was only one person she was referring to.
That I can't tell you what they knew.
But
she does not mention your name in this flyer. But certainly, Miss Enrico has agreed at this point, is that right, Miss Enrico? That you will keep your cats in your home from now on.
Yes.
Is that correct? Is
Yes,
that right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That seems to solve the problem. I will prepare that order, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Wallace. Step forward, please.
26-year-old homemaker Shoshana Davis and her son, 7-year-old Raleek Wilkes, are suing her aunt, airport security screener Yvette Wallace, for causing her son's finger to be severed.
Miss Davis, Miss Wallace is your aunt, is that right?
Yes.
And this is your son?
Yes.
He's 7?
Yes.
And what's your first name?
Raleek?
Raleek.
Yes.
Miss Wallace, this is your daughter?
Yes.
You like him? Is that right? You play together occasionally? According to your complaint, Miss Davis, you were at your aunt's house, socializing,
Yes.
sitting in the kitchen, having a cup of coffee,
Yes.
and the kids were playing.
Yes.
And at some point, this young lady went into the bathroom.
Yes.
According to you, she slammed Raleek's finger in the door, causing the tip of his finger to come off.
Yes.
And then you took him to the hospital, and they had to find the tip of the finger, and you say Miss Wallace didn't get the tip of the finger there fast enough. To make a long story short, Raleek is missing a little piece of his finger. And you want your aunt to pay for all of his medical bills and for pain and suffering. You want her to pay you $5,000, right?
Yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
You're sitting with your aunt in the kitchen, having a cup of coffee. What happens? Was he in the kitchen with you and followed her into the bathroom?
No, he wasn't. They was playing in Christina's bedroom.
Right.
Christina runs into the bathroom after hitting Raleek. And
She hit him?
Yes.
Where did she hit him?
On my leg.
You mean she hit you because she was angry with you?
No.
Was she playing around? Huh?
Yes.
Sure she was. And then she went into the bathroom. What did you do, Raleek?
I ran after her.
Right. And she slammed the door?
Yes.
And you got your finger caught in the door?
Yes.
So? That's what happened.
Yes. And I'm suing because it's his left hand. He cannot participate in certain activities in school because it's his left hand.
Should have watched him more carefully, Miss Davis. You're his mother. Why didn't you watch him?
I was not in the apartment.
I thought you said you were in the apartment.
Miss Wallace, he was in Miss Wallace's care as I was in the hallway. Now,
Just a second. What do you mean he was... Shh, just a second.
Your Honor, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
thought you just told me you were socializing with your aunt.
We was engaging in conversation.
Who was?
Me and the other tenants that live inside the projects. There was an incident in the building, and I was standing in the hallway. I was not in the apartment at the present time.
Just a second. You didn't leave him in her care. Just because she stayed in the apartment and minded her own business, you went outside to mind somebody else's business. If you were so concerned about your son's welfare, you should have stayed in the apartment.
You're right, Your
Why do
Honor.
you blame somebody else?
No, I'm not blaming her at that matter. I'm blaming her because we do conjugate like that.
Fine. Well, then why are you blaming her and suing her for this incident that occurred that had no fault on her part?
Okay.
None at all. Her daughter was playing with your son. He ran after her in the bathroom.
Yes.
She slammed the door.
Yes.
And he got his finger caught in the door because he
Yes.
put his finger in the door. Why should she pay you $5,000?
Why? Because while we was there, no one ever, Christina never apologized. Plus, because of his, this is permanent defective.
But
He
that
has to
doesn't
have
mean that
surgery.
just because he's got a permanent injury doesn't mean that your aunt is liable for that injury.
Why not? If it was done in her house in...
You brought your child there.
Yes.
You are responsible to supervise your child, not her. You.
Yes.
If you had brought your child there and said to her, will you supervise and take care of Ralik while I go to the store?
But Your Honor...
I'm speaking.
Okay.
And she said, I will take care of him. Then you might have a case against her for inadequate supervision.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you're there. You're his mother. He's hurt.
Yes.
He's hurt while in your care. Just because you walked outside to be a yenta in the hallway
No, Your
doesn't
Honor.
mean because you left her in the apartment that she's responsible. No, Miss Davis. You're still responsible.
Your Honor, she knew I was going in the hallway.
That doesn't mean anything if she knew you were going in the hallway, Miss Davis. Doesn't mean anything. She has to assume the responsibility and say to you, I will take care of your son while you go out.
Yes, Your Honor. This is how it was.
No, it wasn't. Stop making it up as you're going along.
Never.
Never.
will do
Your
that.
case is dismissed, Miss Davis. I want you to get a life. Be responsible. It's your son. You take care of him. Not somebody else. It's not her fault.
But, Your Honor, you didn't even look at his finger.
It doesn't make any difference what happened to his finger, madam. He's your child. You are responsible for supervising him and taking care of him. And don't make it somebody else's fault. It was your fault that you didn't watch him more carefully. If you did, he wouldn't have had his finger chopped off. It's not her fault. She went into the bathroom. They were playing. She slammed the door. His finger was in the door. You don't make a lawsuit out of nothing. Goodbye.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hall versus Carlton. Step forward, please.
Registered nurse Cynthia Hall is suing artist Della Carlton for the money she paid to have a mural painted. Cynthia says Della did a poor job.
Miss Hall, you hired the defendant to paint a mural in the nursery, in your baby's nursery.
Yes, Your Honor.
Paid her $200.
Yes.
She painted the mural. You say it was less than quality work. You want your money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it says she did a reasonable job and you're entitled to nothing. How did you find the defendant?
I went to a local baby store called Gore's in Sacramento, and they had a portfolio of her, and she really had a really nice portfolio there. So I was kind of at the end of my pregnancy and really wanted to get someone to do the mural for me right away. So.
And in her portfolio, did it list references?
I didn't see any references.
Did you ask her for references?
No, I didn't.
And she came to your house?
She came to my house.
First you called her on the phone?
Yes.
Did you set a price with her on the phone?
Over the phone, we didn't really set a price. She actually came out, and I kind of discussed with her what I was wanting, but no price was set over the phone.
And so you discussed price when she came out to the house?
Yes.
And she was going to charge you?
Originally, I told her $300 for the labor.
And then?
Then later, I realized I hadn't told her that I usually got $30 for supplies. So the total cost, I priced it at $330.
Okay.
And then she told me that she was on a limited budget and that she didn't want to spend any more than $200, including supplies. So I agreed to that, and I came out to her house and did the artwork.
And how long did it take you?
4.5 hours plus.
Okay, can I see the picture of what you did?
Yes, Your Honor. What I have here,
is her photos. I have the photos from Gore's because she did the bathroom there, a mural in the bathroom at Gore's.
I'm not interested in the photos from Gore's. You made the selection. You selected her as an artist. That's your problem, Miss Hall.
Okay.
And she painted on the wall these little butterflies?
Yes, they're about 6 inches. She stenciled them. I was not expecting those things. I was actually expecting her to give me something more three-dimensional, something that I could actually kind of come to life. I asked for a dragonfly in specific.
Upside down, that looks pretty good to me. She did all these flowers here?
Yes.
Looks lovely.
You can see the eraser marks that kind of still showed through. After it dried, it really, really showed through.
Listen, you didn't pay for a $5,000 Picasso, madam. You paid $200 to spruce up your baby's nursery. It looks like she did an absolutely fine job. Baby fine?
Baby's fine.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
Looks around at the flowers?
Baby looks around at the flowers.
Very good. If you don't like the flowers, paint over them.
But pencil marks showed through.
You paid $200 for this artwork. You got $200 worth of artwork, maybe a little bit more. Stop complaining. Don't muddle up your life with things that are really unimportant. She came to your house twice. She came first to give an estimate. She gave you an estimate of $330. Then you said, I can't spend more than $200. She said, okay, I'll do it for $200. She came out, she did the work. She was there for 4 hours. Certainly she's entitled to be paid for her labor. You paid her for her labor after the work was done. Is that right?
Yes.
Then later you looked at it and you said, I don't like this. I see a pencil mark. I see a smudge. I see an eraser mark.
That's because after it dried, it really showed through. You could see all
I want to tell you something. You certainly can't see that from the pictures. All you see from the pictures is lovely, light artwork. So concentrate on important things, not things that aren't important. The case is dismissed. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 464 on the calendar in the matter of White versus Askins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss White, the defendant used to be your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, he had you falsely arrested
Yes, ma'am.
for violating a restraining order that he had against you, and you want him to pay to the tune of some $5,000 for having you falsely arrested. Mr. Askins says that he could have made an honest mistake.
Yes.
That's your defense. When were you arrested on this violation of the protective order that he had?
29th of August, 2002, ma'am.
And when had he received his protective order?
19th of July, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Askins, why did you feel as if you needed a protective order against Miss White in July?
Because she'd caused problems at work. She's caused problems when I'd go out with my friends. She'd come by a friend's houses.
Did she ever damage any of your property?
No, ma'am.
Did she ever assault you or touch you in any way?
No, ma'am.
When had you separated from Miss White?
Around May.
So far, is that correct, that you separated in May?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a final protective order?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you consent to that? Or was there a trial?
There was a trial, ma'am.
When was the trial?
The trial was on the 1st of August, ma'am.
Okay. He filed for a protective order because he said you were harassing him. Then on August 1st, there was a trial on his request for a permanent order. For a year or 3 years?
Forever, as far as I knew. It'd be permanent.
Nothing's forever. Let's say for a year. There was a trial. Did you have a lawyer?
No, ma'am.
Did you testify before a judge?
No, ma'am.
How could there be a trial? Did you have a trial in secret somewhere?
We had a trial, ma'am, and we were moved to a different courtroom, to a judge that usually doesn't do restraining orders.
I don't care whether there was a judge. Did you have a trial before a judge and give testimony before a judge?
Mr. Askins did, ma'am.
And what about you?
No, ma'am. He just asked me if I wanted any contact with Mr. Askins, and I stated no. At that time, he made it permanent.
All right, so on 8/1, he was granted a permanent order of protection. Now, Mr. Askins, I want you to tell me what happened on August 29th that caused you to have Miss White arrested.
I was over at a friend's house. It was 2 other friends and myself. We were outside. It was late, probably 2, 3 a.m., something like that. And a car pulled up. When we got out, started cussing. It looked like Mandy White.
Just a second. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're outside, and a car pulled up. Were you sitting outside on somebody's porch? Were you sitting outside on a curb? Were you sitting outside on a grassy knoll? Where were you sitting?
Sitting outside on the porch.
And how far away was the truck?
Probably 30, 40 feet.
And it's dark outside?
Yes, ma'am.
So a truck pulls up, and very slowly you're going to tell me what happened.
A woman got out, started yelling cuss words.
Who got out?
A woman that looked like Mandy White got out, started yelling cuss words. I called the police and told them that I couldn't be 100% certain that it was her, but it did look like her, and the car was like hers. And from there, they arrested her, and the DA picked up the charges against her.
You mean you're sitting 40 feet away and the person actually got out of the car and started to curse at you, and you couldn't tell that that person was your girlfriend or not?
Not 100% with it being dark.
Miss White, before the 29th of August, could you tell me why you were bothering him?
I wasn't, ma'am.
Why would he think you were bothering him?
I don't know, ma'am.
Where were you on the evening of August 29th?
I was at home asleep, ma'am.
Could you tell me where you were when the police arrested you?
Yes, ma'am. I had left for work that morning at 4:40, and we go to Peterson Air Force Base to pick up a van, and we drive it to Schriever Air Force Base. And I had gotten my weapon, and I was on post already, and my supervisor came and relieved me, and they took my weapon away in front of everybody and said that I needed to go to the commander's office. We went to the commander's office, and they then told me that I was under investigation for disobeying a lawful order, which was to stay away from Mr. Askins. Then they also told me that I had a warrant out for my arrest. So Master Sergeant took me to the sheriff's office in Colorado Springs, and they arrested me at that time. And then the Air Force did an investigation also, and everybody was interviewed and investigated while I was
I'd like
there.
to see the interviews.
Yes, ma'am.
How many friends were you with that night, sir?
2 friends.
Your 2 friends lied to the police, right?
No, ma'am.
Oh, yes, they did. Seen the results of this paperwork and the investigation that was done?
No, I haven't.
Well, I'll tell you that when your 2 friends told the responding officer, because you called the police and you had some time to talk to your friends before they arrived, your friends told the police that you had all gone outside to smoke a cigarette, and that your 2 friends each told the police that they saw her pull up into the driveway, curse you, scream at you. That's what they told them, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. And so did you. There's nothing in this original report that suggests, sir, that you told the police that you weren't quite sure who it was. It looked like Miss White. You and your friends told the police initially that there was no question that it was Miss White. Want me to read you what you said?
Sure.
He, that's you, stated that he went outside to smoke a cigarette, at which time he observed the dark bronze Saturn pull into the driveway. Askins stated that at this time, White opened the driver's door of the vehicle and stepped outside. Askins stated that White then began to curse at him. He stated that after listening to White curse at him, he told her to leave, at which time she did. Where is there any question in that statement that you weren't sure of the identity of the person? Then he goes on to interview, stated that he was watching television when he heard someone yelling. He stated that he got up, looked out the front door, at which time he witnessed White yelling at Askins. And then Mr. also stated that he witnessed White yelling at Askins. And then I have a letter saying that the military has indicated that they will recommend that charges be filed against all 3 individuals for filing false charges against her. Anything ever happen with that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm. The statements that each of the 3 of you gave to the responding officer were directly contradictory to the statements that they gave later. That's what it says here. You want to look at this?
No, ma'am, that's okay.
Well, Mr. Askins, how do you respond to that, sir?
That their statements were different?
Mm-hmm.
How were they different?
Well, it's different when you say it could have been my ex-girlfriend, but it was dark and I couldn't be sure. That's different from it was Miss White. No question. That's different. Don't you see it's different?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think of any reason, Miss White, why Mr. Askins would want to be vicious and vindictive?
Because I broke up with him, ma'am.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it.
We were together for about 6 months, and we had lived together. And he was very, very controlling. He would get upset when I wanted to see my family, and he wouldn't let me go. So I told him we should just be friends, and we were going to sleep in different bedrooms because I had a 2-bedroom apartment. He said that was too weird, and so he moved out. And then he just kept following me, and his truck was parked near my apartment at all times of the night.
Did Miss White break up with you?
It's more of a mutual thing than anything.
Explain it to me.
We were just fighting, weren't really getting along, and
Did she tell you that she wanted just to be friends and that you could share the apartment but not her bedroom? Did she tell you that?
yes. And I did move out and also left like certain items, so like a couch, so she wouldn't be without a couch and stuff like that.
But she broke up with you. She told you she wasn't interested in continuing the relationship as it had been. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, so can you explain to me what would be her rationale? What would motivate her to stalk you if, Mr. Askins, she broke up with you? Tell me why she would come stalking you and cursing you.
I have no idea.
She's not psychotic, is she?
I don't know.
Are you?
No.
Miss White, I have to make a judgment. And this is a very serious judgment that I have to make, because usually when you have a victim of a crime, if we were to award civil damages to someone who was harmed by being falsely arrested, that might have a chilling effect on the entire justice system, because people would have fear of coming forward, unless you can demonstrate to my satisfaction or to a court's satisfaction that someone maliciously and without cause filed a report that they knew or believed was either untrue or probably not true, and the police acted on it. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So what do we have here? We have a guy who was told to get out of the bedroom, that you were no longer interested in having a romantic relationship with him. He's out at 3 o'clock in the morning with some of his buddies, drinking. The three of them tell the exact same story to the police, that they saw you at a time when it was confirmed, evidently, through investigation that you were home. Couldn't have been you. As a result of which you were arrested, you were humiliated, and you want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm satisfied that what he did was malicious. And this is probably one of the first times that I've been so satisfied. I'm satisfied what he did was malicious. What he did is because he's a big baby. What he did is because he's probably too short. For a variety of reasons. In any event, I'm awarding you what you request, $5,000. That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's been pretty traumatic.
Got phone calls in the middle of the night, everything from her.
I think he's just a mean person.
Keep her away from me.
He started controlling her when they were dating, and he didn't like the fact that she didn't want to be with him anymore, and he was doing anything that he could to make her life horrible.
The victim, me, I feel like I am.
Finally, we have justice. Judge Judy is the best.
Now, this is case number 387 on the calendar in the matter of Rodriguez versus Buttram. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
I don't want anybody to make me shout today because I have a sore throat. Okay?
Yes.
Miss Rodriguez, the defendant is your cousin.
Yes, ma'am, she is.
According to your complaint, there was a time she moved into your apartment, took over a lease of a roommate of yours. She moved out in rather unpleasant circumstances because there was some altercation involving a daughter of hers.
Yes.
And you.
Yes.
You claim that when she moved out, she owed you for rent. She owes you utilities, according to you?
Yes, ma'am, she does.
For 2 months?
She owes June's rent, which was a bad check. She owes September's rent that she did never paid.
How much was the rent?
The rent was $1,000. She paid $500. I paid $500.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about this bounce check in June, because up until June you had paid the rent.
I bounced a check with the landlord in June, and he never got back to me until after I'd moved out that it had bounced. I knew it had bounced, but I was waiting for him to make what he wanted to be done with it.
So that you owe her the money for June?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Good. See, you make things easy. I'm so happy that you're not aggravating me. $500 you owe. Now, what about September's rent? When did you move out in September?
I moved out the first week in September.
Is that right?
She moved out August 29th at approximately 12 o'clock at night.
And you want her to pay September's rent?
Yes.
Why?
Because on the lease that she has signed, it says that she was there until October the 1st of 2002.
Well, that's an interesting issue, because there was an incident involving her daughter.
Right.
Because she has a counterclaim for assaulting her daughter.
Right.
So I want you to tell me what happened, your version of what happened the end of August.
At the end of August, her daughter was very out of control. She was not taking responsibilities in the house. I was picking up after I was telling her that she had to flush the toilet, pick up her clothes, pick up after herself. Her daughter was smoking in the house at 12 years old. I told her mom and I told her daughter, I do not allow this, and I will not allow this. So Amanda said, She was getting ready, and she was all dressed in black. She had black lipstick on, black mascara. I said, "You look like a devil's child." So I grabbed her by the back of the neck. Come here, Chantal. I grabbed Amanda by the back of the neck just like this. I said, "You will not be in this house unless there's an adult in here." I pushed her out, and I went to work. I shut the door behind me, and that's what I had done.
And that's when you left. Miss Rodriguez, you cannot expect the defendant to stay in your home when you've thrown her daughter out of your home. Do you understand? Her daughter's 12 years old.
I didn't throw her out. I told her that she was not allowed in there because she was smoking in the house because my house would have burnt down.
Is there anything in your lease that says that she can't smoke?
Yes,
in your
it
house?
does.
Let me see. Okay. Did anyone else smoke in the house other than her daughter?
Stacy smoked, but she smoked outside of the house, so no.
Now, go ahead.
On this piece of paper right here, when we moved out, you give 30-day notice, they give you a letter. Well, in the letter where her daughter Amanda was in the small bedroom, there is smoke damage to the windowsill in the house and on the floor in the bedroom.
But that's not why you threw her out on that day at the end of August. You threw her out because she was wearing black lipstick, a black
No,
hat.
I threw her out because she got very verbally with me, and she wasn't...
She's not responsible for September's rent, madam. You threw her daughter out of the house. She can't be expected to remain in the house while her daughter's out of the house. The only other thing we have to address are the utility bills. What was your arrangement with her with regard
The
to
utilities were to pay half of everything.
Okay, what about the utility bills?
I paid utilities up until, I think it was May, when we both bought cars. And we decided to get insurance together because it would be cheaper. And they were going to take it directly out of my checking account because Mary Beth did not have a checking account.
Mary Beth, pay attention, don't play with your papers. She's telling me why she didn't pay the utilities after May.
When they were supposed to take $320 out of my account for our insurance, and they ended up taking $520 out. She said, "Just pay it, and I will take it out of your payment for the utilities."
Does that sound familiar?
I told her for May's, not to worry about May's, that I would pay May's utilities, and I did. Stacy only paid me $200. She owes me $718. This is the cable bill, the public service bill, the phone bill, and
Does
the
that
water
include
bill.
September?
Yes.
Well, take September off.
Okay.
Take May off.
Okay.
Right?
$534.37.
How much were the utilities a month, madam?
Utilities ran between $30 to $50 for the water bill, $70 to $100 for the phone bill, and between $100 to $50
So
for
is what
public
you're
service.
doing when you come up with $534 taking the high end or the low end?
The high end.
Okay. Now I want you to tell me about your counterclaim.
Well, when she threw my daughter out of the house, she physically threw out of the house. I have a picture of the marks that she left on my daughter.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Amanda Bishop,
How old are you, Amanda?
12, gonna be 13 in 7 days.
Tell me how you do in school, Amanda.
Lately, I've been getting lower grades because I haven't been working that hard.
Miss Beltram, are you satisfied with your daughter's performance?
She's a little lazy at school lately, but for the most part,
What about her friends, Miss Beltram?
she has no friends.
Really? Why not?
She's just at that stage in her life where she's exploring, she's becoming a teenager, and she's...
What about her smoking, Miss Beltram?
She was smoking in the house, and when I found out she was smoking in the house, I dealt with it.
What about smoking at all when she's 12 years old?
Well, I don't like her to smoke, but I'm not with her 24 hours a day. There's no way I can completely stop her.
Is this your only child?
No, I have a 22-month-old baby, too.
Other than smoking, do you take anything else, Amanda? Ever experiment with any drugs, Amanda? What kind of friends do you have?
I used to have a friend named Ermelie. She had a mohawk, and Mary Beth didn't like her. I don't have her anymore. I have Brittany, and that's about it.
You feel as if, Amanda, that you could benefit with some counseling?
Maybe.
Did you ever talk to your mother about that?
We went to counseling. It was for me and her because we were not getting along well, but we got that taken care of. We have...
Yeah, but now you're not doing so well.
I'm working on it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
her daughter had ran away. Stacy literally had taken her daughter and literally threw this little girl on the floor.
And later today,
Maybe he's not as smart as all your other friends. When he pays
Mark's very
$220
smart, actually.
for 4 tickets, he thinks that he's going to at least get to hear a song, right? And he got to hear nothing.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Beth Rodriguez says her cousin, Stacy Buttram, owes for rent, utility bills, and for the return of her daughter's videos. Stacy says Mary Beth physically threw her daughter out of the house.
I'm talking about the other little things that may be bothering you. Who are you working that out with?
My grandma. I talk to my grandma a lot. We're really close.
She lived close by?
Mm-hmm. In walking distance.
So you go over there and talk to her?
Almost every day.
Good. That's a good anchor. You help your mom take care of the baby?
Mm-hmm. Change diapers, baby baths, that kind of stuff.
Your mom says no.
Sometimes, not 24/7.
Your mom approve of the way you dress?
I don't dress.
It's only clothes. She's a teenager. She's going to go through this stage. It's the stage.
No, she's not a teenager.
Well, she'll be
She's not a
teenager.
teenager. She's 12. 12 is not a teenager.
She'll be a teenager in 7 days.
But 6 months ago, she was 12.
Yeah, well, she's just going through a stage.
I want to tell you something, Miss Beltram. It's easy to be a friend to your kids and much harder to be a parent.
Well, I try to be both.
If you have to make a choice, choose parent, because she can have a lot of friends, but somebody has to give her the right direction. Somebody has to say, these are the rules. While you live under my roof, I own the air that you breathe.
That's exactly
You
what I
will
tell her
do the
too.
following. This is what you will do. When you get old enough and you can live on your own, you can go and do that, and then you will own your space. Up until that time, I own the air that you breathe. I work, I bring in the food, I bring in the electricity, I pay the rent, I do whatever else is necessary, and you have certain responsibilities. But also, if your daughter is having some difficulty, then what you're supposed to do is explore the whys. I'm glad she has her grandmother that she can talk to. If that's good enough, that's fine. If it's not, I suggest that you get somebody else that she can talk
She's a
to.
really good school counselor, too. She talks to a lot.
Okay. Did your cousin hurt you when she put you out the door?
She dug her nails into my arm, and she squeezed really hard on the back of my neck.
Yeah, well, she has no right to put her hands on you. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So you have no right to put your hands on her, and there has to be, yes.
It was, what happened was, she came into the house, and she was just going to grab something and then go back. And I was on the phone with my mom, and she looked at me and she said that I looked like a demon child, and she asked me if I looked in the mirror that I was ugly, and I told her, I said, "You're ugly, bleach blonde," and she said, "That's it," and that's when she threw me out of the house.
She has no right to put her hands on you, and she did. You understand that? The judgment would be for you for $900. That is $400 for the utilities and $500 for June's rent. But I'm going to award you something on your counterclaim because it is unacceptable for somebody to put their hands on another person's child.
Except for, when we lived together, she literally, her daughter had ran away. When her daughter came back, Stacy literally had taken her daughter and literally threw this little girl on the floor.
She's allowed to do that. Well, she's not allowed to do that. That's not the right thing to do. But she's her mother. You're not. A stranger cannot put their hands on somebody else's child. Because when you walked out of the house and slammed the door, because you were going out and her mother wasn't home, you made no provisions for her.
But her mother knew at the time, her mother knew that me and Amanda weren't getting along, so she was taking her daughter to her mom's house. Because she said that to not have us as a conflict, she'd rather have Amanda not there with us.
You have no right to put your hands on somebody else's child. Period.
Okay.
So on your counterclaim, I'm awarding you $350, which means that you still owe her $550. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She physically tried to have her dog attack me.
I don't want her near my child. My child's terrified of her.
We're done. I don't even associate with her, and I will never associate with her.
Instructor, she made a big scene about it. Basically, just go to a regular salon.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hart versus Hart. Step forward, please.
63-year-old salesperson Carol Hart is suing her granddaughter, 23-year-old Krista Hart, for a down payment on a condo, a loan for bail, and the cost to repossess a vehicle.
Mrs. Hart, the defendant is your granddaughter.
Yes.
And your claim has several pieces to it.
That's right.
One involves a car that you purchased for your granddaughter. She was supposed to make all the payments, pay the insurance. She didn't do that. You repossessed the car. You want the cost of the repossession of the car. That's the first part of the case. Then you say that you gave both your granddaughter and your grandson, her brother, the down payment for a condo. And the idea was that they were supposed to act appropriately, responsibly with the condo so that they could use that condo at some point to sell, and each of them could have their own place, but they would have a little bit of money because you have a child.
That's correct.
After they moved in, you made a gift to them of the money.
That's true.
Then you say you took that back because your grandson got a girl pregnant and they didn't do what you had intended to do with this condo, so you want the down payment back. The third thing is her brother was in jail. She called you and said, I need $500 to bail him out of jail. You made her a loan of the $500.
$300.
Okay, $300 for bail for your grandson.
Right.
And he got out of jail, and she says, get it from him. So it's those three things, the car, the condo loan, and the bail money. How much are you seeking from her for the amount that you had to spend to repossess the car?
$77 is all.
Well, that's nonsense, and that happened almost a year ago, right?
Well, just a year ago, yeah.
Okay, well, that's $77.
I gave her
is
plenty
nonsense.
of time to pay it back. I just put in her
Forget
gas
it.
tank.
All right, let's forget the car from a year ago, $77. All right, Miss Hart, let's get to the condo. How much did you loan her for the condo?
Each of them $3,000, total of $6,000.
Okay, so she put $3,000 in on the condo.
Right.
And when was that?
That was in 98. That would be September of 98.
And at what point, Mrs. Hart, did you say to them, now the condo is yours, it's a gift?
They moved in on Halloween, and that was at Christmas that we said that.
So you don't have to pay us back the money?
Right.
Okay. Christmas of 98, you forgave the loan.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, then, but there was the understanding that they would use that either, as you said, for each of them to go their separate ways and for a house or to go for a bigger one together. Then her brother, after that, got somebody pregnant, and he wound up moving her and her child and the new baby into the condo, which was too small. There was 6 people, counting Krista and her son. I'm sure it was difficult. The girl doesn't speak English. It was a small, cramped place, and I'm sure it was really hard. But I think it was in January that Krista just blew it one night, and she called me all night long, waking me up, throwing them out, having a fit. Now, she got very mad at me for not coming over there and doing something.
I haven't heard anything about this loan that was forgiven in Christmas time.
Well, it was still owed. They were still in the condo, all of them.
Of course, I understand that.
But then this was in January, she threw them out.
Who threw who out?
She tried to throw him out, and she just left the next day.
Okay, so who's living in the place now?
Nobody. They sold it. That's the point.
Okay. So they sold it.
The money was not used for the purpose intended.
Just a
Neither
second.
of them worked for a while.
Just a second. How much did you get from the sale of the condo?
Round figure, my portion would have been somewhere close to $4,000, I want to say.
Did you get that money?
Yes, I did, but
Good.
I should also mention that it wasn't sold. The sale was not final until April. The 4 previous months, from January when I moved out until April, my brother, I told him since I was not there, would be responsible for the mortgage payment, which he told me he was.
And he didn't pay?
He did not. So I used my portion of the money that we got from the sale to pay off the mortgage, the telephone bill, which was in my name, the gas bill. He hadn't paid any bills.
The stuff that was in your name, but your brother
Everything.
had to pay. Your brother had to pay part of it out of his portion of the sale as well.
He
from the mortgage. I'm just talking the mortgage, not the bills.
Yeah, the mortgage, yes.
Yes, of course, because they took that right off the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course they did. You didn't say, well, let her pay, and the bank said, okay. They
No,
took
no.
that right off the top. So
Yes, they
how
did.
much did you clear after both you and your brother paid off the mortgage?
I don't know, probably close to, $2,500, $3,000. I can't remember the exact
And what
number.
did you do with the money?
That was the telephone bill, the electric bill, the gas bill, the association due. Oh no, that was paid through the close of escrow also. My brother's car payment, he was delinquent on his car payment. He couldn't get to work.
Come on, Miss Hart. I mean, I'm not stupid. If your brother's not paying any of those bills, then why in the world would you pay his car payment if he's getting $3,000?
Well, because he blew his money on God knows what.
No, you didn't. You didn't pay his car payment. I don't believe that you're that stupid. I really don't. That doesn't mean that your grandmother's entitled to her money back. You can't make a gift back into a loan. You cannot say, now I want the money back because it was not used for what I intended it to be used for. Now I want it back. You cannot do that, Miss Hart. Now let's get to the bail. Did you agree to give your grandmother back money for the bail?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
So why didn't you give it back to her?
My brother had told me that he had taken care of it.
Your brother is a liar.
I
mean, if I believe you, then your brother is a low-life, pun scum liar.
He was for a while. Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes.
Your grandmother tells you that she has not received the bail money back.
Oh, I didn't find out about that until she mailed me a letter, I want to say like maybe a month later, because he had told me that everything was cleared, and we weren't exactly on speaking terms at the time, so I was not aware of the fact that it was not paid back until
But
about a
now
month
you
later.
know. Mrs. Hart, your granddaughter owes you $300 that she borrowed in order to get her low-life brother out of jail. If half of what you tell me is true, either you're the best sister in the world, the dumbest, or the biggest liar. I'm not sure which one. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300, excuse me.
37-year-old trucker John Staley says during a visit with his sister, 38-year-old customer service rep Terry Thompson, she attacked him with a hammer. John says Terry lied to police and had him arrested for domestic violence.
Mr. Staley, the defendant is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, she filed a false police report causing you to be arrested, spending a day in jail. Those charges were subsequently dismissed, but you want her to pay for your lost wages.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? When did this incident occur that caused you to be arrested?
August 9th
And where did it take place?
at the defendant's home of residence.
What were you doing there?
On August 9th, I came home to my home, and I found my niece, my oldest niece, on the phone.
Your
I asked
oldest
her-
niece is your daughter?
Yes.
Go ahead.
She was calling people on the phone, and she advised me that her car had broken down. She didn't have any money on her, and she needed help getting the car towed to get the car fixed. And she asked for my assistance. At the point, I didn't really have any money, but as we were discussing this, the tow truck showed up at my residence. So I told Lori to go with the tow truck driver to go get the car, have the vehicle towed, and I would go to the bank, withdraw money to pay for the towing. And Lori needed to go back to her mother's house, so I took Lori back to her mother's house, and that's what I was doing there.
And what happened when you got there?
I walked with Lori upstairs to the apartment. I stayed in the hallway.
Your Honor,
of the-
don't put your hand up yet. You'll have an opportunity to tell me your side of the story.
I stayed in the hallway while Lori went in and got her things, and there was a discussion that Terry made about that I owed her an apology over an incident that took place 2 years ago.
Have you spoken to your sister since?
I haven't spoken to my sister since February or March of this year.
But you were outside in the hallway.
I was in the hallway of the apartment.
She came out to the hallway
Yes, she did.
to tell you
She
that
wanted an apology, and she made some statements, and I told her she needed to get her facts straight on that issue, but I wasn't going to apologize for this incident. It's 2 years old, and there was no need, and I felt I was in the right of that incident.
Okay.
And she told me to leave, and I tried telling her that I needed to take Lori back to get her car, and she said, no, you're not. She demanded that I leave, and if I didn't leave, she was going to go in, get a hammer, and she was going to beat me with the hammer. And I said, fine. So I turned around, I started walking down the steps. I was on the second step when my sister tried shoving me down the stairs. As she was pushing for me from behind, I turned around with my arm, I raised my arm in defense, and at the same time I tried to maintain my balance on the stairwell.
Had she gotten the hammer?
Not at that point. She got hysterical and everything. She started screaming out loud, and she ran back into her apartment, and I started walking down the stairs, and I was at the first turnaround. There's 3 flights of stairs, and there's a turnaround at one point, and that's when she emerged with the hammer from the apartment.
Did she come down the stairs to
Yes,
where
she
you
did.
were?
I started running down the stairs. I was at the bottom of the stairs when we came together. and she went to swing the hammer, and I put my hands up in a high blocking fashion, and the hammer caught my right forearm, and then I returned a kick to Terry, kicking her away from me, and this bought me a couple seconds to get out the door. Terry then chased me out the door, and I turned and I tossed my keys at Terry. I missed Terry, and my keys went into the bushes on the east side of the doorwell. And then she continued to swing the hammer, and she started yelling to her neighbors, "Call 911! I'm being assaulted!" as she was swinging the hammer.
Did you report this to the police?
Yes, I did.
When?
What happened was Lori came out, and I ended up taking Lori back to her car.
When did you report this to the police?
After I dropped my niece off at her car, I went straight to the sheriff's department.
And what happened when you got there?
They interviewed me, and I told them about the apology and
Told them the story.
Told them the story. They said they had to talk to Terry about the hammer because she didn't originally tell them about the hammer. And they come back and they said she admitted to using the hammer and that I admitted to kicking her. And as far as they were concerned, this was mutual combat. And their policy is to take one of us to jail. They elected me because I was already there.
And subsequently the charges were dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see your paperwork, please. Now, Ms. Thompson, you tell me your version of these events, please.
He's been told several times, this would meaning the 5th time of this year, that he doesn't need to be over harassing me or coming over to my apartment. There's no reason for him to be over there since we do not get along. There's been a few domestic disputes in the past.
Whatever. Your daughter came home to gather some stuff. Your brother is standing outside in the hallway of your apartment. What happened from there?
Okay. Well, I buzzed my daughter to get in. I only seen my daughter get in.
Fine. Your brother is standing in the landing.
He pushed his way in my
Where
apartment.
was he in the apartment?
He was standing in the living room.
Is the living room as soon as you enter into the door?
Yep.
Fine. Okay. So he's standing in the living room. What happened next?
He was trying to say hi, and he was being very much agitating and aggressive. And I said, "Why are you here? You know, you don't get along. We don't get along."
What did he tell you?
He was very much trying to say hi,
No,
very
Ms. Thompson.
jumping up and down.
Ms. Thompson, pay careful attention to me.
Okay.
He was there because he had brought your daughter there, right?
He could have waited in the car.
Just a second. Answer my question.
Yes.
He was there because he brought your daughter there.
Yes.
And he was waiting for her.
No.
He took her back to get her car.
That's correct.
Right. She got her things. And eventually, after this altercation, she left with him. Is that right?
It's correct.
Now, I want you to tell me about this hammer that you admit that you hit him with.
First, he punched me first before I got a chance.
Where did that take place?
It happened in the hallway.
What level in the staircase did it happen where he punched you?
On the 2nd level.
Was he in front of you or behind you?
He was in front of me.
What were you doing following him out of the building?
He was still agitating me the whole way.
What were you doing following him as he was leaving the building?
Your Honor, he's constantly over in my apartment.
I don't care about constantly over. I'm asking you, he's leaving. You told him to leave. He's on his way down the stairs.
Right, agitatingly.
Not agitating, leaving the building. Whether he's leaving the building and he's saying words to you or he's not saying words to you, he's leaving. If he was agitating you, you close your door to your apartment, you say, "My goodness, I'm glad he's out of here." You close the door, case closed. What were you following him for?
To make sure I didn't want him to come back.
When did you get the hammer?
I got it out from my closet in my apartment.
What did you call the police for?
I've constantly called the police.
No, I don't care constantly. What did you call the police for today, that day?
Because he was over again at my apartment harassing me.
Miss Thompson, was your daughter moving out of your apartment? Is that why she came over?
No, she just wanted one thing, a paycheck. She was in there for a second and out.
So she just came home to get a paycheck, right?
Right.
When did she tell you that she was just there to get a paycheck?
She didn't even bother telling me.
She walked in the door and you said something.
He followed her up.
When your daughter walked in the house,
okay,
did she tell you what she was doing there?
No, first she said, "John is behind me."
Fine.
And then he pushed his way in. And then she went to get her check to get him out of there.
That's not why she went to get her check. That is not why she went to get her check. She came to the house because she had to get a check. She asked him for a ride. He was not there uninvited by someone who lives in your house. Does your daughter live with you? Does your daughter live with you?
No, she doesn't.
Did she live with you then?
No.
Okay, but her check was in your home?
She came over to visit me, and the check was in her pants pocket, and she came back to pick up her check.
So she leaves clothes in your house?
There's times she visits.
So she leaves clothes in your house?
Yes.
So she invited him to drive her home. She walked in and said to you, John's behind me. Not John's behind me, he's stalking me. He followed me here in order to hurt you.
Yes, he did, Your Honor.
No, he didn't, Miss Thompson. Now, Miss Thompson, you told him to leave, and he was leaving. And your daughter was still upstairs. You're the one who gets agitated. Because you were following him down the stairs, you went upstairs, and you got a hammer.
And he couldn't stay in his car?
He could have stayed in his car.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, he could have. That doesn't give you license to go and get a hammer and assault him with a hammer. That doesn't give you license to do that. He's not a stranger. It's not somebody that you don't know. You may not get along with your brother, Miss Thompson, but that doesn't give you license to pick up a deadly weapon and to use it. At all. And you're absolutely responsible for his lost day's wages, which in this case, all he's suing for is $134.84. You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step. Yes, escape.
All parties in the matter of Arvizu versus Lawrence, step forward, please.
36-year-old police officer Edward Arvizu claims Deborah Lawrence's daughter, 14-year-old Autumn, made unauthorized phone calls on his calling card.
Mr. Arvizu, you have a daughter.
Yes, I do.
And the defendant has a daughter.
Yes.
And your two girls were best friends.
Yes.
For a long time. For how long?
About 8 years.
And then I gather that there was a time when your nephew, who lived out of state, came to visit you for a while.
Yes, it was early of April this year.
And the defendant's daughter sort of developed an attachment for your nephew.
Yeah, I believe so.
And then he went back home.
Yes.
What state do you come from?
Arizona.
And what state does nephew come from?
California.
After he went home, you got a whopping telephone bill.
Yes, I did.
$1,042.42. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
So did you call a phone company and...
I noticed that I recognized all of the numbers.
And whose numbers were they?
The originating number was from my sister's house, where my nephew lives, and...
What were these, collect calls or...?
Calling card.
Calling card?
Yes.
Oh, so somebody got a hold of your calling card.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The numbers that the calls were placed to were also familiar. My daughter said, "That's Autumn's number, Dad." So...
That's Autumn?
Yes.
So what did you do next?
I called my sister, sent her a copy of the bill. She was not happy, but was willing to accept the responsibility. And I also did the same thing with Autumn's mother, sent her a copy of the bill. She
I was
told
never
me...
mailed a copy of the bill.
She told me that I got a call back a few days later that she would only accept responsibility for the calls that Autumn made. And at this point on the first bill, it was only like $12.96.
Okay. Well, that would be fair, to only accept responsibility for the calls that Autumn made. But then you got another bill.
Yes.
What was the next bill?
$1,451.40.
And how much of that bill is attributed to phone calls that Autumn made?
I only have it figured out with tax and from the prior month. For the second month, $1,349.35.
So she made all the calls?
Yes.
Next month. Plus $1,296.
Yes.
So, $1,352.31.
When their nephew came to visit, a crush happened for both of them. It wasn't just one. She was 13, he was 17. Their son drove the nephew home, and apparently the son had left his wallet there because he had expressed to Autumn he needed to mail it back. How he got the PIN number, I do not know. But the calls originated from him. When he spoke to my daughter, he said, "Call me at this number," and...
He gave her a calling card.
Well, he didn't give her a card. He gave her
the number.
A card number and
okay.
a pen.
Autumn, did you recognize the number on that card?
At first.
You've called that number many times over the last 8 years, isn't that right? Because your friend lives there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you realize that card had the same telephone number as your friend, as the Arvizus, right?
Yes.
Who'd you think was going to pay for that?
I didn't think about it at
Right, you didn't think about it. That's the
when
bottom line of it.
When he gave her the number and the PIN number, the only calling cards that Autumn has ever had are the ones that you buy in stores. The PIN numbers are not attached. They're ones that you create. And he told her this was, you make your own PIN number. You make your own, you have the number, but you don't have a PIN number. You make your own.
So what?
He told her it was his.
So what?
And that this was okay, and that when she asked how many minutes were on it, he said unlimited.
Did you have that whole conversation with him?
Yes.
You see, 13-year-olds are very smart, Ms. Loren. 13-year-olds are so smart when it comes to these numbers. They know all about that.
No, they don't. No,
yeah,
at
they
least
do.
not my daughter does not.
Well, who do you think should pay this $1,349.35? Him?
No, I think that the nephew should.
He's 17. He's not responsible to pay anything.
He is the one who got the number. There is no way that
Listen.
she could have.
Listen to me.
She would
Listen
not
to me.
have done anything that would have caused somebody to pay a lot of money.
Responsibility. She lives in your house, right?
Yes, she does.
Did she use your telephone to call him?
Yes, she did.
To call him. How much of a phone bill did you get?
Because he gave her a number for a calling card that was prepaid.
Answer my question. Did she use your telephone?
No. Yes, she used my telephone.
But she did not bill it to you?
No.
And that's because she knows that calling costs money.
Yes. But
you know how long you have to sit on the phone to work up a bill of $1,362.31? A very, very long time.
Yes.
Now, in the second month, most of those calls came from her.
Well, he would page her on her pager using the calling card, and then she would return the call.
Your Honor, I have the bills here that show how many times she called. The times are on the bill.
Oh, she called him and sat on the phone with him, right?
Yes.
Is this the nephew?
Yes, it is.
Step up here. What's your name?
Brandon.
Where'd you get the card from?
I found it on the floor in my cousin's room.
And you knew it was
Just
the
the
wrong
number,
thing to
though.
do to have it, right?
No, I didn't find the card. I just found the number.
The number?
Yeah, it was written down on a piece of paper.
So what'd you use it for?
At the time, I wasn't thinking.
Well, you weren't thinking a lot.
Pretty much.
What happened in the second month? You stopped calling so much.
I just didn't call. I just paged her, and then she'd call me back.
Why?
I don't know. I just.
What do you mean you don't know?
I didn't.
Did you get in trouble with your mother?
No.
Did your mother say anything about the first bill?
The second bill did not show up until, wasn't even knowledgeable until after they had stopped making calls because of the way that they mail out the bills. There was no knowledge of a second month until after the calls had stopped.
You have to accept responsibility for what your daughter did.
My daughter didn't do anything intentionally. She trusted this boy. He told her it was a calling card number that was prepaid.
What? So what?
She
He's
would
the
never
innocent.
have done it. She would never have used it because she adores this family. She's known
What
them for
grade are you
many
in
years.
school?
9th.
How do you do in school?
Good.
Let me hear what was your grade last semester in math?
A.
What was your grade in English?
A.
What was your grade in social studies?
A.
So you're not stupid.
No.
No, but
Judgment for the
naive to the
plaintiff in the amount of $1,362.31. Don't avoid responsibility. It's
I
a
was
very,
not avoiding
very
it.
bad lesson and message to send to your daughter.
No, it was
That's
a
all.
bad
Parties are
message for him.
excused. You may step back. This is case number 244 on the calendar in the matter of Nickerson versus Monk. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Ms. Nickerson, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours, and it is your claim that he purposely totaled your car by smashing into it. This was after he had ceased to be your boyfriend.
Right.
Mr. Monk does not deny that he did, in fact, smash into your car, but he has two defenses. One, it was that it was really just an accident, and second, that you should have had more insurance. Right?
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure I got it right. When did he cease being your boyfriend?
That night.
It was a good answer. When did this happen?
August 7th.
Where were you?
I was at a friend's house.
Male friend?
Yes.
About what time?
About 7, 8-ish.
He came over.
He followed me.
What happened?
He knocked on the door, and my friend said, I think your boyfriend is outside. I said, oh no, quit playing. And then he got more furious. Aisha, if you don't come out here. And so I finally...
You mean the defendant got more furious?
Yeah, he started yelling my name, and I was paranoid. And then I finally opened the door, and I came out there, and he was ranting and raving.
What was he saying to you?
Oh, it was belligerent.
What was he saying?
Oh, you know, how could you do this to me? Why are you here? Yada, yada.
And what did you say to him?
You know, I just said I was over a friend's house. By this time, I'm mad because he's embarrassing me at my friend's house. So I was getting upset with him, and I told him none of his business. And then he got more upset. Then this is in the back of the house, and then we're walking. He threw someone's garbage can on the ground, and I'm paranoid. Then I got on my cell phone. I called the police because he was getting violent. He was getting in my face.
He was getting in your face, and he threw somebody's garbage can?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Then we proceeded to the front where my car was parked, and his car was parked on across the street. Okay, and then we were arguing, and then he got in his car. It looks like he was going to take off and leave, but I guess the devil got in him. And so he did a donut, and he sped and totaled my car. 360 turn and totaled my car.
What kind of car did you have?
A 2001 Corolla Toyota, 3 months old. My first new car.
Okay. You have a different version of what happened?
Yes.
I'll hear you.
First of all, we were still together on that day when.
Okay, you were still
when
together.
the thing happened. Yes. And I did not follow her. I was not following her. I was on my way somewhere else, and I just happened to pass by that area, and I seen her car outside the home.
How big an area do you live in?
What do you mean?
You live in a city or?
Yeah, it's a town. It's a town.
How many people live in that town?
I don't know, a couple thousand, about 50,000.
So you're just around 50,000. So you
Yeah,
just happen to be
more,
going down
maybe
that
more.
street.
Yeah, I was going down that street.
Okay, go ahead.
Where I was going, I was passing that area.
I got you.
But anyway.
Believe me, I got you. Go ahead.
Anyway, so I see her car there. So I was on my way to do something, so I continued to do what I was doing. I called her cell phone.
When you said you saw her car there, was it parked in the street or in a driveway?
Yeah, it was parked on the street. The street I'm going down, if I look that way, I can see her car parked right there. And I know her car, and I know that she knows people that stay in that house. That's why I knew it was her.
Ah, there you go. Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, I proceeded to call her on the phone, and she didn't answer her phone, so that made me suspect something even further. So after I finished doing what I was doing, I came back over there, and I knocked on the door. Nobody answered, so that, like she said, that made me more mad, and I was getting restless and upset. So I was calling her name out, and finally she came out. We got in a heated discussion. Things were getting too hot, you know, I was getting too upset, so I jumped in my car and I proceeded to leave. My car was parked opposite of hers on the other side of the street. I went to make a U-turn. By this time, I'm so upset that I'm driving reckless. So I lost control when I was coming back after making a U-turn, and my car went into hers.
Right. Okay, now, let's talk about the damage. The car's been totaled?
It's totaled. It was not up.
What kind of insurance did you have on this brand new car?
The worst insurance in the world. Due to my age, I had to go with the cheap insurance. So I went to this place, but it was full coverage because you can't drive it off the lot without full coverage. So they're telling me they can only pay the blue book. So apparently the dealer must have gotten over on me on the overall price of the car, which regardless of the case, I paid for it. That was my decision.
Let me see the paperwork. How old are you?
24.
So, according to this letter from the insurance company, they're prepared to give you $14,541.
Right.
And did you have a loan on this car?
Yes.
And what was the total loan amount on the car?
$19,100 something.
Who went with you to buy this car?
He did.
Did you shop around at all?
Yeah. I was shocked I got approved. I was happy. It had a nice steering wheel.
A nice what?
Steering wheel. Leather.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at customer service.
For whom?
Kaiser.
For how long?
3 years.
How much do you earn?
Not a lot.
How much do you earn?
Yearly, about $30,000.
How many payments did you make on this car?
Like 4 payments.
And how much were your payments?
$365
a month.
Yes. Plus $120 of that insurance.
120 of the 365 was for insurance?
The insurance, that lousy insurance. Can I say their name? The insurance name?
Sure.
I can?
Sure.
They suck.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aisha Nickerson claims ex-boyfriend Carl Monk crashed into her car during a jealous rage. Carl says it was definitely an accident.
What percentage of interest do you have on this loan, do you know?
10%, 10.9.
You're not a very good shopper.
I was just with her. I wasn't helping her along.
Well, you have to deduct the payments that you've already made to the company, because you don't have a payout figure, do you?
No.
Okay. That would leave a balance that you owe the company of about $3,765. Now, Mr. Monk, you hit a car.
Yes.
You gotta
It was an
pay.
accident.
Well, it wasn't her accident. It was your accident.
But it was an accident.
No, it wasn't her accident. It was your accident. She wasn't in her car. Her car was standing. Her car didn't move over to your car. Right?
Right.
You hit her car.
True.
All riled up, angry, whatever else it was. Her car's not responsible for your anger. You are. So you got to pay her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,765. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step back. This is case number 2.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Holiday, Presley versus Llewellyn. Step forward, please.
30-year-old court collector Laura Holliday and 20-year-old Autumn Presley are suing 23-year-old cashier Erica Llewellyn for attorney's fees resulting from a false police report. Erica claims Laura and Autumn keyed her car.
Who is Miss Halliday?
I am.
And Miss Priestley, that's...
Presley.
Presley? Okay. According to your complaint, you believe that the defendant falsely accused you of keying her car, as a result of which you were arrested, had to hire an attorney, and ultimately, I assume, found not guilty. And you want her to pay the attorney's fees and some small amount for harassment. The defendant says she believes she had good cause to notify the police of your involvement in vandalizing her car. So the first thing I have to know is, how do you ladies know each other?
My husband has a son with her.
Your husband has a child with the defendant?
Correct.
How long are you married?
3 years.
How old is your child?
He'll be 4 in February.
And you?
A child also with her husband.
And you have a child with her husband?
Her husband.
With her husband? And how old is your child?
She will be 4 in March.
He must have been very busy 4 years ago. Do you have any children with him?
No.
Okay, so that's how you know each other. Each of you have 4-year-olds with her husband.
Yes.
And you two are friends. When did this alleged incident of vandalizing your car take place?
In between the dates of March 16th and to the 18th of 2001.
On the 16th, the car was okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you find on the 18th?
I had really bad key marks on both sides of my car. I had it on the trunk and on the hood.
Can I see pictures of it? Do you have pictures?
I do not have pictures.
Okay. Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do.
Can I see the police report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I assume there's no question that you contacted the police and gave the police at some point the plaintiffs' names as the perpetrators of this act of
Yes,
vandalism. When did you do that? How much after the incident?
Almost a week.
It was on the 26th of March.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what happened on the 26th of March that suggested to you that the two plaintiffs were responsible for the damage?
My next door neighbor, I hadn't talked to her within that week. Came
Told
over.
you something.
Yeah.
Is your next door neighbor here?
No, she's not.
Well, that's interesting because your testimony with regard to that would be hearsay. However, there are certain exceptions to the hearsay rule. And one of those exceptions is if I don't take it for the truth of the statement, but merely that it was said to you that caused you to do something else, which in this case would be to call the police, I can hear what she told you and then make a determination myself as to whether or not she actually told it to you.
Okay.
Not whether she saw it, but whether she told it to you. All right, so you had a conversation with your neighbor. Tell me what your neighbor said to you.
She told me that Saturday night that she seen a white Jeep parked across the street
And she sat there and watched them for a little bit, and she said she seen them walk over and keep my car and then take off laughing.
Did she describe the people?
She did describe the people. She actually said they were both white. She said that they had long hair and they were a little bit thick, or well, I don't know how to explain it, but they were bigger women.
Do you have any police reports?
These are the copies of what she has. It's her statement. and such.
She didn't give me anything but one sheet of paper. Okay. Is there any interview in this police report from your neighbor?
No, the neighbors, none of her witnesses showed up in the court either that dismissed the case.
My neighbor is extremely sick.
That doesn't prevent the police from going and taking a statement.
Right. When I told them who it was and where she was, they did not even take any kind of initiative to talk to her.
I have a statement from the car dealership. My car was in the shop the week of the 15th to the 20th.
Let me see. So you actually never went to trial in this case?
No.
To whom it may concern, this Jeep Cherokee was at Extreme Auto Credit Inc. for repairs. Did you show this to the police?
The police never contacted us. We gave it to our attorney.
Now, what would make you think that these two, other than this statement, which I find difficult to believe because the fact that this alleged witness who told you about what she saw couldn't come to this court today, there's certainly no reason why this witness couldn't go to a local court, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
she's extremely sick.
Well, maybe she's too sick to see what she said she saw. What would make you think that these two women would do such a thing to your car?
I've had problems with Miss Halliday for years, and just this year I just started having problems with Miss Priestley.
Why would you have problems with them?
I've been back and forth in court for like the last 4 years because
what?
she's taken me to court for stuff that she has said I've done that I haven't.
Like what?
Like judgments. She's took me to court for trying to get restraining orders against me several times.
Yeah.
She stated that I stalked her and all this, and I've never stalked her.
A couple of basic questions. Put your papers down. Did you ladies know each other before you had this mutual Don Juan? What's his name, by the way, your husband?
Ernie.
Ernie. Before Ernie, did you ladies know each other?
No.
No.
So it would be fair to say that any disputes that you've had, and I assume that there have been some negative feelings about children, child support, visitation, seeing all these children, that without Ernie, you would not have any problems with each other. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Probably.
Do these children visit Ernie?
Yeah, Ernie has full custody of 2 of them.
Of both of these children?
No. He had joint with her. We have a custody trial coming up in April.
So the child lives with
me.
You. And what about your child?
Mine lives with him.
Lives with Ernie? And lives with you?
Correct.
For how long?
About a year now.
Ernie has other children?
Yes.
How many more children does Ernie
Ernie
have?
has 5 children.
Ernie has 5. She says 6.
By 5 different people. We also had I was with Ernie for 6 years before them two had got together, and we had a daughter together that unfortunately passed away.
That was the 6th,
Yes,
I assume that you're talking about. You think you're going to stay with Ernie forever?
I don't know.
If I were an odds maker, I would say no. So I'm going to give you all a little bit of advice. You didn't ask me for it, but you're here, and you're a captive audience, so I'm going to tell you. You're making a fool over yourselves, each of you, for somebody that's probably not worth being a doormat for you to wipe your feet on.
I agree.
I mean, the fact that you got snookered in by this thing for some periods of time, for 4 years, for 5 years, for a year, it's a mistake. But to be involved in litigation, to be involved in harassing each other, just ridiculous. Don't you agree? You got to put a stop to it.
Yes, ma'am, I agree.
We tried at one point. We were getting along at one point, and I loaned her money to get her license back and such, and she never paid me back. That's what one of the court cases was about.
She never gave me a chance to pay her back.
Whatever. So it seems to me, this sounds almost like a communal marriage. Listen, you all don't have to really like each other. The fact that you have this common thread in Ernie is unfortunate, but it doesn't make you family. I mean, I assume you have to go over there to pick up your child who Ernie has custody of. Do you have other children?
Yes, I do.
How many other children?
I have 2 other children.
Where do they live?
With me.
Well, why does this child live with Ernie?
Because Ernie has custody of her.
Did you voluntarily give Ernie custody of the 4-year-old?
Yes, I did.
Why would you do that?
Because we were going through court at the time, and they were trying to have me pay for something that I shouldn't have been paying for
Like
when.
what?
I think it was from when she was born, and he just took over the responsibility to pay the bill. So, in order for him to take over the bill, he had to have custody.
Come on, you're being a little obtuse here. Give it to me straight.
That's
no,
why he got custody.
No.
Yes.
No. You mean if he pays the bill, he gets custody? That's why they gave him custody? Was that your contract with him? Was that your agreement with him?
No, it wasn't a contract.
Bunch of wackos. You're all a bunch of wackos. You have no case. She probably had grounds to call in a report that she believed that you had damaged her car. The fact that your car may have been in the shop, may not have been in the shop, that also was hearsay, by the way, the letter that you gave me. And you probably have done the same thing to her. How many times have you been to court with her?
I went to court with her a few times. One time was when she kicked in my door and came at me with a butcher knife. The other time was when the police had to remove her from my property.
So you've been involved a few times with each other?
Yes, ma'am. That was the same day that she was talking.
Listen, you want to make fools over yourselves.
I don't.
With regard to Ernie's tentacles, you're going to continue to do that.
I have
and
nothing
I
to
can't
do with
help
Ernie.
you, but we certainly aren't going to reward you. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morrison versus McKinney. Step forward, please.
31-year-old office manager Carla Morrison is suing her former friend, 27-year-old retail salesperson Corey McKinney, for an unpaid cell phone bill. Corey has a countersuit claiming Carla vandalized his car.
Miss Morrison, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were friends, and there came a time when each of you wanted a cell phone. I know what happened with an uncle of yours. He agreed to get the cell phones for you, but the defendant's agreement with you was that he would pay his portion of the cell phone bill.
That is correct.
You claimed that he ran up a substantial bill on the cell phone, which he has not paid.
That is correct.
Now, the defendant, I read your answer, sir. You don't seem to dispute the fact that you ran up a substantial phone bill.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how much was the phone bill that he ran up?
His cost came up to $1,000.
Can I see that, please? Or total?
We initially got our phones in January. I believe I had Corey's phone disconnected towards the end of April, the beginning of May.
4 months.
Right, but his calls ran into like June and July.
Okay, so the bills are really in his name. This says total Nextel charges for Corey, right? On the bill it says for
I
Corey.
never seen the bill.
Well, we'll show it to you. Actually, it's $1,007.37.
Correct.
Because you had a phone that allowed you to make as many local calls as you wanted, but not long-distance calls?
Right. Corey's charges are more long distance than anything.
Corey, who do you talk to so much, sir?
I talk to people everywhere.
Where are most of your
I
friends?
was out of town then. I was out of town then.
You were out of town.
Yeah. And I was calling back.
Your defense to this action is that you did spend the money on jabbering away long distance, but that the plaintiff did damage to your car.
Yeah.
And the damage to your car is more than your long distance calls, right?
Yes.
That's your defense.
Yes.
So, show me. What kind of damage did she do to your car?
Cut my tires and put sugar in my tank.
Did you witness her doing that?
No,
Have a look
but
at me.
my witness, I have a witness here.
So the answer is you did not witness her
No.
doing that. But you have a witness who I'm
Yes.
prepared to hear. Step up, sir. Tell me your name.
Anthony McKinney.
Are you related?
Yeah, I'm his brother.
Now tell me what you observed on May 7th.
I was coming home from out playing basketball, and I seen her truck over there at the house when I was walking in the house. I really didn't see her really do it, but next morning I got up and he was outside going crazy. I was like, went over to see what was wrong. He said somebody had put sugar in my tank, and cut the tires. I said, well, last night when I was coming home, I seen her over there and had left the house. But I really didn't pay any attention to it because they were seeing each other off and on at the time, considering the phone bills and everything. So I
Sir,
really,
did you see her on May 7th?
I seen her the day before,
On May 6th?
May 7th. That day.
Where did you see her?
She came over to the house.
To visit with you?
Yes. He said he seen her that night.
Sit down. Sit down, sir. Well, tell me about the conversation that you had with her on May 7th.
She saw about the phone bill.
And what did you say to her about the
I
phone
told her I
bill?
wasn't going to pay the bill.
Did you tell her why?
But she had the phone turned off. I didn't even use it.
Well, she
I
had
never
the
did
phone-
see the bill. She never showed me the bill.
Now I'll hear you. You went over to his house on May the 7th?
I don't recall. I have talked to Corey numerous times on the phone, over our 2A radio pertaining to the bill. Corey has seen our Nextel bills. He left to go out of town. His thing was, I'll take care of it when I come back from Texas. Don't worry about it. Don't trip, Carla. You know, I'm not going to leave you out there like that. I'm going to pay the bill. I don't recall being at Corey's house on May 7th. It's a possibility, because I was at Corey's house plenty of times.
Did you slash his tires?
Of course not.
Did you put sugar in his gas tank?
Of course not. And me and Corey talked about this. He brought the damages up that I did to his car when I called him and asked him when was he going to pay his bill. And he said, I'm not. You had my phone shut off. I said, well, yeah, Corey, because the bill is at $1,300. He even called me when he was in Texas to say that I slashed his girlfriend's tires on her car as well. It's like, you know, Corey, I don't have time for this. I'm working 2 jobs. I don't have time to drive around town to look and vandalize Corey's vehicle.
Now, these phones, the bills were actually in your uncle's name?
The bill is in my uncle's name, but we are the sole responsible party.
I understand that, but the bills are in your uncle's name. If they were to sue somebody, they were going to sue your uncle.
Right.
Right? And your uncle knew that he was behind in the bills.
Right. He knew that he wasn't paying them.
But he wasn't paying them.
So where's our
There
uncle?
were other people, sir, who had a motive to do nasties to your car, right?
Correct.
Those are only people that I know. Anybody else not like you, sir?
No.
You sure about that? Okay. You have
Where's our uncle at?
You have it, what?
Where's our uncle at? Shouldn't he be here?
No, why?
He signed for the phones.
So what? She's responsible because she promised her uncle that, despite the fact that the uncle signed for the phones, the two of you were going to be responsible. Duh. You still have the same girlfriend that you had in May?
No.
When did you break up with the May girlfriend?
In June.
In June? Well, June's pretty close to May. Had you been fighting with your girlfriend?
No.
You mean it just came on all of a sudden that you broke up with her?
Yeah. But this
There
happened
may
in-
be somebody else that didn't like you.
It happened in May.
And when were her
We was
tires?
we was on good terms then.
You were on really good terms.
Good terms.
Oh, good terms. Well, Mr. McKinney, we may never find out who put sugar in your tank, sir. But we sure know who made all these phone calls. That was you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $1,007.37. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hamilton versus Seiler. Step forward, please.
24-year-old nursing assistant Sean Hamilton is suing his ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old nursing assistant April Seiler, for destroying his 52-inch television set. April says she caught Sean cheating.
This is Miss Seiler, who has a very bad temper. Mr. Hamilton, you and Miss Seiler were living together for several years. You have a child together.
Yes, sir.
According to your complaint, the defendant became irrationally jealous because she had heard some rumors of you fooling around at work. And one day she came to work, she confronted you, she saw you talking to this woman. When you got home from work, you
Yes,
found
ma'am.
that she had destroyed a 52-inch television set. Is that right?
Yep.
So let me hear. That's what he's suing for. When did you destroy his television set? On what date?
July 20th, I think.
And tell me what happened on July 20th.
I went up to work and I've seen
His
him.
work.
Our work.
You work at the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And he was talking to a female, and I asked him what was going on, and he said that they were just friends. And so I said, well, that's not what I've heard. So I went home, and he stayed with...
And that's all that was the whole conversation?
Basically, and he stayed with the girl. And I went
And you said,
home.
that's not what I've heard, and you left.
I said, that's not what I've heard. You guys have been seeing each other. And she said, it's not like that. And he said, we're just friends. And I said, whatever, and I walked away.
Okay.
And then I went home and I was talking to my mom on the phone. I
You were
was
telling your
mad.
mother what had happened?
Yes, and I was very mad. So I said, "Oh, I hate him," and I kicked the TV. And there's like a big hole, and my whole foot like went inside the TV.
So you destroyed the television?
Mm-hmm. And then a couple minutes later, he came home and said he was going to sue me and took the money that was left to get by with for the week and left.
How much did he take?
Maybe $300-400.
And then whose money was that?
Ours.
When you were living together, you pooled your money?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
You pooled your money. So this $300 or $400, how much was it that you took when you
It was approximately $300. But Your Honor, later on in the week, I did come back and I did give her some money.
How much money did he give you later
No,
on
he
in the week?
didn't. He gave me money before the incident for bills, but he never gave me any money.
Afterwards?
Yeah.
The moral of the story is never fool around with a man's 52-inch television set.
And can I say another thing?
Sure.
This was like 2 weeks before football season, so...
You're not endearing yourself to me, Mr. Hamilton. Go ahead.
He's done this before in the past, and the girl confronted me and said that he had been asking her out, emailing her, calling. He's been calling her on the phone, and I have, it's going to be 2 kids with him.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
The two of you are not married.
No, ma'am.
You're going to have 2 children.
Yes.
Why aren't you married?
Money.
What do you mean money?
Well, I've offered to marry her, just go and get married now and then, later, we could have our big wedding or whatever, but you'd have to ask her.
Why didn't you get married 2 years ago?
Can't trust him.
You can't trust him enough to marry him, but you trust him enough to have 2 children with him?
Yeah.
Mr. Hamilton, my next question to you is, if the defendant came up to you and you were talking to this woman and she had some concerns about the relationship that you were having with this woman, why didn't you leave with her and go home and say, listen, it's really nothing. She's really just a friend. Stop getting upset.
All right. First of all, we work at a hospital, okay? It's like 95% female, so I mean, for me sitting with this girl, and she wasn't in her right state of mind or something because she came up and she started swinging at me. I couldn't really get anything out, because I'm like covering up, and then she didn't just walk away, she ran away. I'm at work, I can't just leave work.
Did you start swinging as soon as you came up?
No.
No?
No.
Now, you bought this television set in 1998. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Whose money did you use?
It was mine. I sold some rims. I had these wheels prior, before we even started dating or anything, and I got $1,200 for them, and then I saved up a little bit of cash and bought the TV.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, but he had been working off and on for the last 2-3 years.
I work on and off. I was doing lawn care at the time, and we get, you can only do lawn care in Michigan because it snows 6 months out of there.
So who was supporting the household when you weren't doing lawn work at the time you bought
I would do
your
odd
television?
jobs in the wintertime, like plow snow. And
Were you working full-time?
Mm-hmm.
And she was working full-time?
Yeah. But I would bring it in a sufficient amount of money, enough to pay the bills and everything.
Where are you living now?
I live at my mom's right now.
You have a TV?
No, ma'am, I don't. I don't have nothing from the house.
I have no furniture?
Nothing.
He took the couch.
I had
and
one
sold
couch
it.
that was in the basement that our cats urinated on for 2 years.
Did you move in that house together?
Yes, but her name's on the house.
But you moved into the house together.
Mm-hmm.
Did you furnish it together?
Yep.
And when he left, you kept all the furniture except for the couch that was in the basement?
He took his computer. And,
I'm talking about furniture.
yes, because now I'm stuck with the house and I can't afford it, so I'm going to have to sell it. And I told him I'd give him the stuff, but for now it's me and my daughter,
So you have the furniture?
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. She can have the furniture, and I mean, I want my
He just
daughter.
wants a TV. You see
Yeah.
how important? Because
Well,
football
every time
season.
every time we got in a fight, she told me, get your TV and get the F out. I mean, I feel the TV's mine.
So you need some money to go out and buy a new TV, right?
That'd be nice.
Well, she had a temper tantrum. So when you have a temper tantrum, you got to pay for temper tantrum.
And I have pictures of the TV too, Your Honor.
But believe me, sir, I have a husband. I know what a 52-inch TV is. Now, how much is it going to cost you to buy a TV? You paid $1,200 for this one?
I have receipts here.
Can I see it?
Yes, you can.
how much was the television set? So you got a whole lot of other things here.
I paid $15.49 for my TV.
Okay.
And that model's not made anymore, so they compared it to the model that's out now. That's closest to it.
Well, you may have to get a 48-inch television. And I'm not even going to depreciate it because, Miss Seiler, you ended this relationship, or this relationship was ended, and it seems to me that over the 2 years or more that you were living together, you accumulated certain property that you're keeping. All he wants is his TV. You destroyed it. And he paid $1,549 for it, and I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Parties.
ये यहाँ पर गुस्सा आ गया
ये प्लग किया हुआ है। अब इसमें कुछ भी जो है ना ये ऑफ है। लाइट्स इसमें जो है ना वो नहीं शो हो रही बिल्कुल भी। सिर्फ ये 3 लाइट्स ऑन है कसर की, ठीक है। ये देखें, ये सिर्फ ये ऑन है। बाकी IQ मैंने ऑन किया हुआ है, तो इसमें कोई रिडक्शन वगैरह नहीं दे रहा, कुछ भी ऑप्शन नहीं आ रहा इसमें। तो मैंने ऑफ किया है, फिर ऑन किया है। ये अब साथ ये डिटेक्ट हुआ है, ये लाइट ऑन हो गई है इसकी, ये देखिए ये ऑन हुई है, लेकिन कीज़ की लाइट्स नहीं ऑन हो रही, सिर्फ ये दे रहा है 3 लाइट्स ऑन है ये, ठीक है। बाकी ये इसमें डिटेक्ट दे रहा है। साथ ही 5 सेकंड 10 सेकंड यूज़ करूँगा इसको, ये ऑफ़ हो गया, साथ ही ऑफ़ हो गया। देखिए अभी ये शो कर रहा है, अभी ये लाइट ऑन हो गई है इसकी। ये ऊपर ना मेन लाइट ऑन हो रही है इसकी, ना ये नीचे की पूरे कीबोर्ड की लाइट्स ऑफ हैं, सिर्फ ये 3 लाइट्स जल रही हैं ये एरो की, ठीक है। और ये देखें, ये इसमें कुछ मैं यूज़ करता हूँ इसको, ये साइन लाइटिंग इफ़ेक्ट्स, या तो इसकी सेटिंग करनी है या शॉर्ट है, क्या चक्कर है मुझे आइडिया नहीं हो रहा इसका। काइंडली अगर आप कुछ कर सकते हैं तो मुझे बताएं, अगर लाना पड़ेगा उधर तो ले आता हूँ।